Chapter 3688. The war god saber formation was destroyed, and although it could offset part of the combined 9 swords' power, but it couldn't completely offset it. That was why the frightening power smashed into Nie Shuang's body. Nie Shuang was pushed back dozens of steps. Nie Shuang coughed out a mouthful of blood. She was seriously injured. Nie Shuang! On the spectator stand, Nie Feng couldn't sit still anymore. He never expected the fight to turn out like this. He was a perfect first divine core warrior. How could she be injured by Ling Xiao? Although that Ling Xiao is arrogant, he was right about one thing. Nie Shuang is too conceited. That's why she never put in the effort to cultivate. She only managed to improve her cultivation with the help of pills and other people. That's why, although she is a perfect first divine core warrior, she is actually at the same level as a mid-first divine core warrior. In fact, she is slightly weaker. As for that Ling Xiao, his foundation is extremely solid. It seems like every single breakthrough he made was achieved through crazy battles. This is a strength that is formed from blood and sweat. Yu Qilong didn't like Ling Xiao, but right now he had to admit that Nie Shuang was in danger. No, Nie Shuang hasn't unleashed her martial soul yet. Once she unleashes her martial soul, Ling Xiao won't be her match. Nie Feng didn't believe his genius sister would lose to a divine vain warrior. No matter what, this was unacceptable. Shuang, unleash your martial soul now. And those talismans, those magical treasures, use them all now. He is no match for you. Nie Feng shouted towards the arena. He was clearly a little anxious. Brother Ling Xiao, if that woman uses her magical treasures, you have to use the blood thunder god as well. Don't hide it. Hearing Nie Feng shout, Zilong became anxious. She believed Ling Xiao could defeat Nie Shuang. The biggest reason was the blood thunder god. Without the blood thunder god's attack, there was no way Ling Xiao could seriously injure a second divine core warrior. Is he going to win? Is he going to create a miracle? Countless people were extremely excited. Being able to witness the birth of a miracle, of course they were excited. So, it turns out that I lost to such an expert. Looks like he did go easy on me. In the crowd, even the last grudge in Shang Guanfeng's heart was gone. If Ling Xiao had used such a powerful move when they were fighting before, he would not have been able to defeat Ling Xiao. If that was the case, he would have no chance of surviving. Father, after we return, let big sister Mingyu and little you come back. No matter what, they are still your biological children. Although we have the same father but different mothers, they are still my younger siblings. They are humiliated, but we are also humiliated. Shang Guanfeng said to his father, "What, you brat, did you suddenly think it through?" Shang Guan clan head asked with a smile, "Yes, I understand. Of course, more importantly, big sister Mingyu and little you have a close relationship with Ling Xiao. Don't offend him." Shang Guanfeng was very straightforward. "I see. Don't worry, father understands." Shang Guan clan head looked at Ling Xiao, who was in the arena. Being able to force a first divine core warrior into such a state with a cultivation base of the 8th level divine vein realm. In fact, this was already considered a miracle. Even if he couldn't defeat Nie Tian, it was enough to make him famous in the Purple Kingdom. But obviously, Nie Shuang wanted Ling Xiao dead. If he couldn't defeat Nie Shuang, all his efforts would be in vain. Therefore, he decided to keep watching. If Ling Xiao could win, then he would naturally do as Shang Guanfeng said. Not only would he bring Shangguan, Mingyu, and Shangguan Yu back from the bitter cold, he would also compensate them greatly. But if Ling Xiao died, there would be no need for that. He was a businessman, and he wouldn't do business that would bring him a loss. On the arena, Ling Xiao smiled. Looking at Nie Shuang, who had a ferocious expression on her face, he continued, "You told me you wanted me to know how frightening a divine core warrior is. But until now, we're even, right? Or do you have any other tricks you haven't used yet? Like the martial soul your brother mentioned? Talisman?" Ling Zhao's disdain made Nie Shuang's expression even more ferocious. Her eyes were so angry that they were about to shoot fire. Ling Xiao, not bad. Not bad at all. I never thought that Nie Shuang, would suffer such a huge loss because of you. But this is the last time. I admit, you're worth me using all my strength. Perhaps you're the strongest divine vain warrior. Nie Shuang wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. She swallowed a pill. After that, a cold white frost appeared behind her. That's right, her martial soul was the frost martial soul. The moment she unleashed her martial soul, the temperature of the arena dropped by a lot. The people below the arena could feel the bone-chilling coldness. In the next moment, Nie Shuang dashed forward. She moved at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye. She dashed toward Ling Xiao. It was a simple punch, but it contained a frightening force that could freeze a world of ice and snow. It heavily landed on Ling Xiao's arms. Ling Xiao's body was sent flying away like a kite with a broken string. After that, he fell to the ground. He couldn't stand up even after a long while. "Aunt, you self-righteous worm, you should understand now, right? Compared to me, your strength is nothing. We're not even on the same level." While speaking, Nie Shuang walked toward Ling Xiao. Her mission wasn't just to win. Her mission was to kill Ling Xiao. As long as she could kill Ling Xiao, it didn't matter if Zi Qinya hated her. This was because Ling Xiao had already become a huge threat to the Yu clan. It's over, it's over. As expected, miracles don't happen. No matter how strong a divine vain warrior is, how can he defeat a divine core warrior? The audience shook their heads and sighed. They all felt sorry for Ling Xiao. Although a miracle didn't happen, perhaps this was the reality. But most of them didn't laugh at Ling Xiao. As a divine vain warrior, Ling Xiao was already very strong for being able to reach this stage. If it were them, they wouldn't be able to do it. Of course, there were some people who were overjoyed when they saw Ling Xiao's current state. For example, Tang Yi. He stroked the storage ring on his finger and said excitedly, "Grandson, my good grandson, did you see that? Dead. The man who killed you is going to die. It's time for you to rest in peace in the netherworld." "Nie Shuang, what are you doing?" When Zilong saw Nie Shuang walking toward Ling Xiao, he couldn't help but ask, "What am I doing? Of course I'm going to kill him. He didn't surrender. I'm not breaking the rules, right?" Nie Shuang said with a mocking tone, "Don't forget, this is how Ling Xiao killed Tang Bing." "Surrender, Ling Xiao." Although Zilong didn't know why Ling Xiao didn't use the blood lightning god, it seemed like Ling Xiao didn't even have the strength to stand up. If he still didn't surrender, what awaited him would be death. Zi Qinya looked at Ling Xiao. She wanted Ling Xiao to surrender as well. But before she could say anything, the person who had been motionless suddenly stood up. This scene not only gave the audience a fright, but it also shocked the audience. Nie Shuang, who was walking over, was also shocked. She quickly put up a defensive posture. "Ha ha ha, surrender?" Her attack is no different than scratching an itch. Ling Xiao let out a wild laugh. Chapter 3689. Ling Xiao let out a wild laugh. He looked at Nie Shuang and said, "So this is all you've got after unleashing your martial soul. Looks like I've been waiting for nothing. You've really disappointed me." The reason why Ling Xiao didn't stand up just now, he wasn't seriously injured. He didn't do it on purpose. It was just because he had broken through at that moment. He didn't want to be disturbed by other things when he was breaking through, since that idiot Nie Shuang thought he couldn't take it anymore. She wasn't in a hurry to finish him off, or else he would have had to stand up and fight. Right now, his cultivation had broken through. The feeling of breaking through to the 9th level of the divine vein realm was really comfortable. The water core in his body seemed to have become more solid. It no longer looked like a drop of water, but more like a syrup. After breaking through to the 9th level of the divine vein realm, his cultivation ocean was instantly filled with energy. And this energy came from the external divine pill. In other words, after Ling Xiao broke through to the 9th level of the divine vein realm, he had broken through to the half-step divine core realm. Furthermore, he was a half-step divine core realm with a 90% water core. He was only one step away from forming his core. The increase in strength was really terrifying. It was at least 20 times stronger. He was able to hurt Nieshuang just now, and now his strength had increased by 20 times. Even if Nieshuang unleashed her martial soul of ice, she would still be no match for him. What an arrogant woman! Do you really think you can hurt me with that little attack? What a joke! Under everyone's shocked gazes, Ling Xiao stood up once again. In fact, his condition seemed to be even better than before. I should have finished him off earlier. Nieshuang felt a little regretful. When dealing with a strange young man like Ling Xiao, she couldn't treat him with common sense. Her expression changed slightly, but soon it returned to normal. With a sneer on her face, she said, "You're just bluffing. It's impossible for an 8th-level divine vein realm martial artist to come out unscathed after receiving my attack. You're showing off, but that only shows the fear in your heart. Since you've stood up, take another attack from me. Let's see how long you can last." After saying that, Nieshuang once again formed the War God Blade formation. However, the War God Saber formation this time was formed by her releasing her martial soul. Regardless of whether it was the power or the range, it was much greater than the previous one. It was already infinitely close to a 3rd-level monarch grade martial skill. Let's see how you block it. Nieshuang revealed a sinister smile. The War God Saber formation exuded a terrifying chill. This was the perfect fusion of a high-grade 2nd-order Emperor ranked martial skill and frost martial spirit. Everyone could see how powerful this attack was. This is bad. Ling Xiao should just admit defeat. Many people were worried about Ling Xiao. The way they saw it, it was already enough that Ling Xiao was able to hold on until now without dying. There was really no need to risk their lives for an unwinnable battle. What a pity. He's a tough guy. Even if he dies, he won't admit defeat. Sigh, to think that such a character would die in battle like this. What a pity. Many people's faces were already overflowing with helpless expressions. He felt helpless and regretful for Ling Xiao. Enough. Zilong couldn't stand it anymore. He really regarded Ling Xiao as a brother, so he didn't want to take the risk, even if he had to force Ling Xiao to give up this battle. He also wanted to save Ling Xiao's life. However, in the face of Nieshuang's attack, Ling Xiao turned his head to look at Zilong. "You don't believe me? You don't believe your brother?" These two simple questions could actually be regarded as one question. Zilong was stunned at once. Is he smiling? Zilong frowned and carefully thought about Ling Xiao's many actions. Suddenly he came to a conclusion. Brother Ling Xiao is as smart as a monkey. He won't be stupid enough to fight to the death with others. There must be a reason. He stopped in his tracks. He no longer interfered in this battle. Seeing Zilong stop, Ziqinya canceled the attack that had been condensed. She didn't want Ling Xiao to die. Such an outstanding brother was hard to find. She didn't want to lose him. But Zilong could believe Ling Xiao. Why couldn't she? Indeed, it was as Zilong had guessed. Ling Xiao was as smart as a monkey. If he really couldn't defeat anyone, he would naturally choose to give up. He wasn't so stupid as to throw his life away. Everything was under his control. Now, it was up to what treasure Nieshuang would take out to deal with him. Although this woman was arrogant, she would definitely use it if she was forced into a corner. Even Tang Bing had something like the immobilization talisman, not to mention Nieshuang. In Ling Xiao's opinion, talismans and dharma treasures were very common in the 4 major regions. Of course, there were also puppets. If he couldn't take this into account, then he would have deserved to lose. Nieshuang was a very rare opponent. He wanted to take advantage of this woman's experience. 9 transformation God Fiend technique. Descent of the God Fiend. In the situation where his strength had increased explosively, Ling Xiao naturally had to choose a martial technique that consumed less energy. Descent of the God Fiend was enough to deal with the current Nie Shuang. Boom! The powerful God Fiend saber formation was completely shattered by this attack. Of course, the descent of the God Fiend had also disappeared. However, Ling Xiao's attack was continuous. 9 Transformation God Fiend Technique. Second form, Divine Light, Demonic Shadow Assault. After the first attack, the second attack was launched. Nie Shuang had no choice but to fight back with all her strength. Purple Soul Divine Shield. A first-grade Emperor Realm defensive martial technique, its power was pretty good. It had cancelled out most of the 9 Transformation God Fiend Technique's power. But some of the power still landed on Nie Shuang's body. To everyone's surprise, Ling Xiao, who had just crawled up from the ground, was actually suppressing Nie Shuang. If this is all you have, I'm afraid you're going to die after this attack. 9 Transformation God Fiend Technique. Third form, Divine Light, Demonic Shadow Assault. Not good. Facing Ling Xiao's continuous attack, Nie Shuang's expression became uglier. She was a divine core warrior, but she was actually being suppressed by an 8th level divine vein warrior. No, he had broken through. This wasn't the aura an 8th level divine vein warrior should have. Half-step divine core realm. Nie Shuang cried out in shock. You finally figured it out. I have to thank you for sparring with me just now. You helped me break through from the 8th level divine vein realm to the half-step divine core realm. This feeling is simply too wonderful. Ling Xiao didn't try to hide the truth. A powerful aura was unleashed. Anyone with eyes could tell that he had broken through. What kind of monster is this guy? How could he break through 2 levels in the middle of a fight? Yu Qilong felt uneasy. Ling Xiao's growth speed had gone beyond his imagination, although he was still no match for Jiang Qin. But this guy was only a 4th level divine vein warrior a month ago, breaking through to the half-step divine core realm in just 1 month? Even the Eternal Emperor from the Eternal Palace couldn't do that. Monster. He was really a monster. Nie Shuang, kill him at all costs. Remember, at all costs. Yu Qilong thought Nie Shuang didn't need to use that kind of power, but right now he gave the order. Chapter 3690. Yu Qilong secretly sent a message. He wanted Nie Shuang to kill Ling Xiao, no matter the cost. Bang! Nie Shuang finally unleashed a powerful defensive talisman, blocking Ling Xiao's attack. This talisman was a divine emperor weapon. It could completely nullify a first divine core warrior's attack. It could nullify a second divine core warrior's attack by 30%. It could nullify a third divine core warrior's attack by 10%. Originally, Nie Shuang didn't want to use this talisman. After all, her opponent was just a divine vein warrior. But now, she had no choice but to use it, because her opponent's strength was beyond her imagination. Xiaolong, looks like you've made the right bet. Zi Qinya looked at Zilong and said with a smile on his face, To be honest, I was thinking the same thing just now. But because of my understanding of Brother Ling Xiao, I decided to take the risk. That's why I decided to take the risk. Looks like he's not trying to be brave. After breaking through, he's no longer afraid of that woman. Zilong let out a long sigh of relief. This Brother Ling Xiao, it seemed like every time he met him, he would bring him a huge surprise. But Nie Shuang has started using her talisman. I'm afraid it'll be difficult for Ling Xiao to defeat her. Zi Qinya was still worried. Don't worry, sister. I believe that Brother Ling Xiao will be able to defeat that woman. No matter what that woman does, it won't be of any help. Sister, are you sure Brother Ling Xiao doesn't have any trump cards? Zilong said with a smile. Zi Qinya was startled for a moment, but he agreed, putting aside everything else. Just the strange formation Ling Xiao had used before. He hadn't used it yet. Compared to their excitement, Tang, he was in a bad mood right now. Damn dog, why is he so strong? Why can't he die? Nie Shuang, you have to kill him. Avenge my grandson, avenge my son. On the arena, Nie Shuang's emotions slowly returned to normal. She forcefully suppressed the fear and shock in her heart. What are you afraid of? Even if he breaks through, as long as he hasn't broken through to the divine core realm, he is still no match for me. Nie Shuang took a deep breath. He once again erupted with a powerful fighting spirit. If your so-called confidence comes from those talismans, then I advise you not to have too much hope. It's useless. Ling Xiao looked at Nie Shuang and chuckled. Since he had broken through to the half-step divine core realm, he didn't want to waste any more time. It was time to end this long battle for the championship. Moreover, Nie Shuang wanted to kill him. He would not show any mercy. He would use Nie Shuang's blood to pay tribute to the blood he had shed. Really? We'll know once we give it a try. Nie Shuang didn't believe it. Body securing talisman. Protection talisman. Protective talisman. In an instant, Nie Shuang released 3 talismans. The effects of the body securing talisman had already been mentioned before, so there was no need to elaborate. The soul protection talisman, on the other hand, was a soul protection talisman that could protect one soul from Ling Xiao's soul technique. A protective talisman was naturally meant to protect the body. When these 3 talismans appeared, it could be said that they were a trinity. He could control the enemy and protect himself. Compared to Tang Bing's body securing talisman, this was much better. Damn it, this is so shameless. A divine core warrior needs to use talismans to fight a divine vein warrior? This just proves how strong Ling Xiao is. He has surpassed Nie Shuang. Too bad. Ling Xiao's backer isn't as strong as Nie Shuang's. I think this battle is going to end like this. While the crowd was discussing, Nie Shuang's transformation wasn't over yet. Armored puppet, possess. Right after the 3 talismans were released, Nie Shuang took out another strange-looking puppet. The puppet covered her entire body. It was as if she was completely protecting herself. This armored puppet was about 2 meters tall. It could fit Nie Shuang alone, and there was still plenty of space inside. No one knew what kind of traps she had set up. Anyway, right after the armored puppet possessed her body, Nie Shuang's combat strength had obviously skyrocketed. It had increased by at least 5 times. Oh, this is your final trump card, right? Ling Xiao let out a light laugh. Since you've used items, don't blame me for using items as well. Although her body was frozen, she couldn't move, and she couldn't use her true yuan. She could still talk, and she could still circulate her soul force. You can't even move. How are you going to use items? Nie Shuang mocked. Idiot woman, when you took out the 3 talismans, I also released the 3 refining formation stones. I only need a single thought to activate them. Activate the first talisman, Plague Bone Dissolving Formation. After it was released, the entire arena started releasing green mist. Even though Nie Shuang was inside the armored puppet, she could still feel the horrifying mist seeping into the puppet through the gaps. It made her feel really uncomfortable. The second talisman, Minor Myriad Lightning Immortal Slaying Formation. Activate. The second formation was even more horrifying. The entire arena was covered by the formation. Horrifying lightning bolts struck down one after another. No matter where Nie Shuang hid, she couldn't avoid them. The lightning bolts made the armored puppet produce cracking sounds, and Nie Shuang's heart trembled. Your array formation's attack is only so-so. I can guarantee that I will be able to kill you before you destroy my puppet. Nie Shuang snorted coldly. Is that so? I haven't let you see the most interesting thing yet. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. He activated the 3rd refining formation stone. Phantom Mystifying Formation. The strange mist appeared once again. People couldn't see anything in the arena clearly. They didn't know what was happening inside. In the mist, only Ling Xiao could see everything clearly. A moment later, Nie Shuang could also see everything. This was Ling Xiao's intention. Since you're going to die, I'll let you see something fun. I haven't used it for a long time. Because as long as it appears, someone must die. Those who have seen it, except for me and my most trusted friends, are all dead." As he spoke, a pitch-black universe appeared behind Ling Xiao. In the universe there was sparse starlight, the power of ancient times. It was constantly released from the dark universe. Nia Shuang subconsciously took 2 steps back. She felt that it wasn't Ling Xiao standing in front of her, but the entire universe. It was a universe much larger than the mystic world. What the hell is this? Nia Shuang was extremely terrified. What it is not important. What's important is that you're going to die soon. Ling Xiao revealed a sarcastic tone. Ice Age in his right hand, Blood Sun World in his left. It's over. Sky Tyrant, a god destroying purgatory, a demon sealing void. In the pitch-black and boundless universe, 2 figures stepped out. One was a terrifying black shadow, and the other was a terrifying light shadow. They represented the 2 forces of darkness and light. They represented the existence of God and demon. The 2 figures merged into 2 swords. A dazzling sword light bloomed. No. Nia Shuang didn't want to die. She didn't want to die yet. It wasn't easy for her to return from the Blood Sun, small kingdom. It wasn't easy for her to get the opportunity to be a couple with Yu Qilong. She didn't want to die. She regretted choosing to kill Ling Xiao. Chapter 3691. No matter what Nia Shuang thought, there was no way Ling Xiao would let her live. Throughout his journey, Ling Xiao had never shown any mercy to those who wanted to kill him. This time it was the same. Even though he knew Nia Shuang was Yu Qilong's woman, he would still kill her without hesitation. Under the frightening attack, Nia Shuang and her puppet armor were shattered into pieces. Not even a complete corpse was left behind. In the stands, Nia Feng suddenly sensed that his sister's aura had disappeared. He stood up abruptly and stared at the ring. The smoke on the arena slowly dispersed. The real situation was revealed. There was only one man standing there, Ling Xiao. On the other side, besides some bloody puppet pieces, there was nothing else. It was as if Nia Shuang had vanished into thin air. "Bastard, where is my sister?" Nia Feng furiously asked. "Bullshit, of course I killed her. If not, why would I keep her alive to kill me?" Ling Xiao said with a mocking tone. As a 3rd-level divine core warrior, Ling Xiao dared to talk back to him in such a way. Also, the death of his sister, Nia Shuang, had pushed Nia Feng into a berserk state. He crazily leapt towards the arena, trying to kill Ling Xiao. Bang! Right at this moment, Nia Feng felt a heavy blow on the back of his neck. He immediately fainted. "I can't let you ruin my plan." Yu Qilong looked at Nia Feng indifferently. Then he said to Hao, "Bring him back and lock him up." To be honest, the anger in Hao Chen's mind was no less than Nia Feng's. He really wanted to kill Ling Xiao, but for the sake of the overall situation, for the sake of the Blood Sun scripture, he couldn't kill Ling Xiao in public. Nia Feng couldn't either. If he did, Zi Qinya wouldn't be happy about it. Besides, Zi Qinya would definitely stop him. Therefore, even if Nia Feng really wanted to kill Ling Xiao here, he couldn't do it. He wouldn't do anything that was useless. Even if he wanted to kill Ling Xiao, there were other ways. Fortunately, he had discovered it in time. This young man had not grown to the point where he would be difficult to deal with. On the arena, Ling Xiao naturally felt Nia Feng's violent killing intent. However, even if Nia Feng wanted to kill him, it was impossible to kill him. He had 2 heaven-defying divine skills, rising from the ashes and life reversal, in addition to the Crimson Thunder God and Onyx Soul's Wrath. As long as the sneak attack was successful, even Nia Feng would be injured. If worst came to worst, he could just use the divine pills in his body to attack. That was the Niden of a martial artist in the extreme realm of Dan. Once it exploded, let alone a mere 3rd divine core warrior, it would be impossible for him to escape. Even if it was a 9th-level divine core warrior who had broken through to the extreme realm of core realm, he would still die. This weapon of mass destruction was currently Ling Zhao's greatest reliance. Nie Fong was knocked unconscious by Yu Qilong. Ling Xiao frowned. Yu Qilong, this sly old fox who knew what kind of sinister scheme he was thinking of again. If they couldn't kill him outright, they would definitely come up with some devious ideas. There was no doubt about that. As the saying goes, it's easier to dodge a spear in the open than an arrow in the dark. In fact, the other party had openly attacked him. Therefore, he wasn't worried at all. But now he was in trouble. After swallowing a healing pill, Ling Zhao's internal injuries were quickly recovering. The damage Nie Shuang had inflicted on him wasn't small. But because he had the healing pill he concocted himself, he had nothing to fear. Actually, when dealing with someone like Nie Shuang, all he needed to do was use the Blood Thunder God once to kill her. Of course, this wasn't part of his plan. His original plan was to use the Blood Thunder God when he couldn't break through to the next realm. But once he broke through to the next realm, there would be no need for that. Besides, the Blood Thunder God was similar to a magical treasure. It was fine as a trump card, but if he relied on it for a long time, it would be detrimental to his growth. Ling Xiao! Ling Xiao! Suddenly, loud shouts could be heard from the crowd. The men from the King Mansion were the first to shout. Then, most of the men followed suit. Only the men from the Purple Mansion army didn't dare shout. Although Ling Xiao was also a soldier of the Purple Mansion army, Nie Shuang and Yu Qilong had a close relationship. If any of them dared to cheer for Ling Xiao, they would not be far from death. But many of them were still feeling great. Nie Shuang was a cruel and merciless woman, and many Purple Mansion army soldiers had died in her hands, just because he took a second look at her. By killing Nie Shuang, Ling Xiao had helped them get rid of a threat. Besides, Ling Xiao had killed a divine core warrior with his divine vein cultivation base. This was a magnificent feat that no one had ever done before. From today onwards, Ling Xiao's name would be spread across the entire Purple Spirit Kingdom. Perhaps even a small place like the Meng village would be able to hear about it. Ling Xiao was wondering if Darkfrost and the others had arrived at the Meng village. Had they started their cultivation there? Perhaps the difference would be huge. But with those few geniuses' abilities, their overall strength would definitely improve by leaps and bounds within a short period of time. He wasn't worried about that at all. What he needed to do next was to incorporate the Purple Spirit Kingdom into the Heavenly Dynasty's territory. But in order to solve this problem, he had to first drive away the Purple Mansion army or kill them. This was a difficult task. Of course, there was another option, which was to become the king of the Purple Mansion Kingdom and personally take over the Purple Mansion army, turning it into his own personal army. That seemed to be a lot simpler. But no matter which option he chose, he had to increase his overall strength as soon as possible. Today's breakthrough wasn't something to be excited about, because it was the inevitable result. But he was still far away from those mighty warriors. He wouldn't feel proud just because he killed Nie Shuang. Among the crowd, Tang Yi was staring at Ling Xiao. He had not expected such an outcome. He really wanted to charge forward and kill Ling Xiao. But his overall strength was weaker than Nie Shuang. If he charged forward like this, wouldn't he just be courting death? He had been cultivating for so many years, but in the end he was still weaker than an 18-year-old kid. This huge difference made him feel very uncomfortable in his heart. Can't I take revenge for this? Tang Yi's heart was bleeding. Anger and dissatisfaction accumulated in his chest. Do you want revenge? Suddenly, a voice rang out in the darkness. Who is it? Tang Yi turned his head, but he didn't see anyone. Do you want revenge? The voice continued to ask. Yes, even in my dreams. Tang Yi nodded. Very good. Now, go back to the Purple Mansion army and unlock the seal in the water prison. I give you the power to take revenge. Help me escape. The voice stopped. Tang Yi stood up and turned to leave. In the past, he definitely wouldn't take the risk to do this, because in the water prison of the Purple Mansion army, every person was a terrifying soul. After they were killed, only their souls were imprisoned. They were going to be made into powerful puppets. Once they were released, there would be a lot of trouble. But now Tangy didn't care. For revenge, he dared to do anything. As long as he could kill Ling Xiao, he wouldn't care even if he had to use the force of evil God. His son and grandson were already dead. He had to take revenge. Chapter 3692. The way Zilong looked at Ling Xiao right now was filled with admiration. Initially, he thought Ling Xiao would only be able to defeat Nie Shuang with the Blood Lightning God. But even until the end, Ling Xiao didn't use that skill. This made him admire and respect Jiang Qin even more. Now that he thought about it, when he first met Ling Xiao, he was only a third-level divine Vein warrior. But now he was able to kill a first-level divine core warrior. This kind of advancement by leaps and bounds was truly incomparably shocking. As for Ziqinya, she was even more shocked. Right now, she looked like she had found a treasure. Her face was filled with excitement. Her eyes were filled with happiness. This guy, no matter if it is his talent, skills, experience, or wisdom, he is the best. When Nie Shuang fought with him, it was like she was being toyed with. There was no chance of her winning. It looked like a dangerous fight, but in fact, it was all in this guy's control. As a fifth-level divine core warrior, it was the highest praise she could give to Ling Xiao. After all, there weren't many people that Ziqinya would take seriously. Zilong, don't be so happy. Hurry up and announce the results. Ziqinya looked at Zilong, who was still laughing, and said with a smile, "Oh, I almost forgot." Zilong hurriedly announced, "The national martial competition has come to an end. Ling Xiao has defeated Nie Shuang and become the champion of the competition. He will receive 5 million upper rank soul stones, 3 purple sun pills, and an oracle bone that is over 10,000 years old. Also, Ling Xiao and the other 2 will become the king's inner disciples. Since Nie Shuang is dead, the 3rd and 4th place will be promoted." As for who was the 3rd and 4th place, aside from the participants, no one really cared. Ling Xiao had attracted everyone's attention. He had become the absolute focus of the martial competition. Ziqinya stood up from her seat. She hovered in the air, then walked towards the podium step by step. She had a beautiful face, powerful strength, and the majestic aura of a monarch. Without a doubt, she was the woman who attracted the most attention in the entire Violet Spirit Kingdom. Right now, this woman was walking towards Ling Xiao. "Ling Xiao, congratulations." She looked at Ling Xiao and then announced to everyone, "Ling Xiao is the champion. I will take him as my younger brother. I, Ziqianyi, will treat him with the same care as Zilong. As for disciples, I have my eyes on one person. Shangguan Feng of the Shangguan family, are you willing to become my disciple?" Shangguan Feng was stunned. He thought that he had lost all hope. He was eliminated by Ling Xiao in the first match. His result was the worst. He didn't expect such a good thing to happen. He hurriedly stood up and nodded. I'm willing. Little brother Ling Xiao, you don't have any objections, right?" Ziqinya looked at Ling Xiao and asked. No, Ling Xiao and Shangguan Feng had no enmity. Moreover, he understood what Ziqinya meant. This Shangguan Feng's aptitude was indeed not bad, and he was also the son of the richest man in Purple Spirit City. Taking Shangguan Feng as a disciple was tantamount to winning over the Shangguan family. It was especially important to control the small Purple Spirit Kingdom. In fact, whether it was the monarch of a small kingdom or the king of a large kingdom, they all wanted to stay in this position for a long time. As long as they didn't make a big mistake or lose a lot of strength, under normal circumstances, they wouldn't be replaced. They might have to stay in this position for decades or even centuries. Therefore, Ziqinya also wanted to consolidate her ruling power. Okay, that's it. Ziqinya's decision made Shangguan Feng look at Ling Xiao with eyes full of admiration. The monarch actually asked for Ling Xiao's opinion before making a decision. Wasn't this awesome? He turned to look at his father and said, "Hurry up and solve the matter of Sister Mingyu and Xiaoyu. Don't be a burden to us. No matter how strong they are, We must give them the best treatment. Don't worry, I've already given the order. The Shangguan family's patriarch was as cunning as a monkey. The moment Ling Xiao killed Nieshuang, he had already made a decision. And now this decision was obviously very wise. At the same time, in a mine on the outskirts of the capital city of Purple Spirit, Shangguan Yu was being whipped hard. She was hanging upside down, and her face was extremely pale. Shangguan Mingyu was already crying at the side. Because she was also tied up, she couldn't do anything. This group of people were worse than pigs and dogs. It was really a case of everyone kicking a man who was down. In the past, the two of them had given these people a lot of benefits, because what they did was hard work. But now, not only did these people not remember the kindness of saving them, but they also touched Shangguan Mingyu. Shangguan Yu was punished like this because she resisted. Lu Kai, you will definitely regret it, definitely. Shangguan Yu gritted her teeth. Although she was covered in blood, her eyes were very vicious. Ha ha ha! Do you still think you have a chance to turn things around? You too can stay in this mine and enjoy life for the rest of your lives. If you are willing to serve me, maybe your sister can live an easier life. Otherwise, I will beat you to death. The muscular Lu Kai laughed heartily, not taking Shangguan Yu's words to heart at all. Bah! In your dreams! Shangguan Yu spat out a mouthful of blood and scolded. If you have the guts, just beat me to death. Let's see what will happen to you. Do you really think I don't have the guts to kill you? I can just throw you into the forest and tell them you were eaten by some demon beasts. I don't think the Shangguan clan chief will care about 2 pieces of trash. Lu Kai sneered. If nothing had changed, perhaps he was right. That Shangguan clan chief was really a cold-blooded and heartless man. He could even treat his own children in such a way. However, because Ling Xiao mentioned Shangguan Yu and Shangguan Mingyu, the two of them ended up like this. Changed in an instant. Lu Kai, you're really arrogant. Suddenly, a voice came from afar. Who the fuck is talking to? Lu Kai turned around and looked. He saw a man flying towards him. Lu Kai's expression changed dramatically. A man who could fly was definitely a divine core warrior. Also, judging from the way this man was dressed, he was obviously a high-ranking member of the Shangguan clan. Second manager. Lu Kai was startled. This man was the second manager, whose status and power was only second to the clan chief. He was a third divine core warrior. Lu Kai was only a half-step divine core warrior. Facing such a mighty warrior, he immediately knelt down. However, the second manager didn't even look at Lu Kai. He walked over and untied Shangguan Yu and Shangguan Mingyu. With a gentle voice, he said, "Both of you have worked hard. You can go home now." "Why?" Shangguan Yu asked. After going through so many things, he was no longer as naive as before. "You know Ling Xiao, right? Both of you have become good friends." The second manager said with a smile, "Let's go, I'll bring you home. From today onwards, you won't be bullied by anyone." Ling Xiao, Shangguan Mingyu, and Shangguan Yu exchanged glances with each other. Both of them were shocked. They did know a man called Ling Xiao, but he was just a nobody from the Myriad Flame main city. How could he be so powerful? Chapter 3693. Second Uncle. What should we do if someone insults the young lady of the Shangguan family? Since he couldn't figure it out, he decided not to think about it. However, there were some things that Shangguan Mingyu had to do before he left. Kill. The second shopkeeper said lightly. He had received the order from the family head to try his best to satisfy Shangguan Mingyu and Shangguan Yu's requests. As for killing Lu Kai, it was nothing to him. "Spare me. Second shopkeeper, spare me." Lu Kai was so scared that his face changed drastically. He turned around and tried to run away. However, how could he escape from the second shopkeeper's attack? His body exploded, and red and white matter spilled all over the ground. He couldn't be more dead. Back at the martial arts competition. The martial arts competition had ended. People began to leave, but they were still talking about the battle between Ling Xiao and Nie Shuang. That battle was full of twists and turns, exciting to the extreme, and made people cry out in satisfaction. Ling Xiao was able to win in the end, which was even more unexpected. However, the more it was so, the more they felt that it was worth it. The 3 people who were accepted as inner disciples by Ziqianye also went back to prepare. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, stayed with the people from the monarch residence. The alchemist, Gui Su, was sitting there at this moment as if he had lost his soul. He couldn't lift his spirits at all. This time, Ling Xiao won the championship, which was a big blow to him. He had originally wanted to see Ling Xiao's misfortune. However, who would have thought that it would end up like this? King, Ling Xiao is ruthless. If we keep him by our side, I'm afraid it will cause endless trouble. Nie Shuang's death will definitely cause a rift between the Z Mansion army and the King's Mansion. He suddenly stood up and said, these words were really untimely. However, in view of his past loyalty, Ziqianye didn't blame him too much. He just said lightly, you think too much. Moreover, in the arena, fists and feet have no eyes. Everyone has signed a life and death contract. Death is expected. Don't be surprised. But no buts. Go back first. Make your own elixir. It's more important than anything else. Ziqianye frowned and was a little angry, because this sinkhole fellow simply did not know what was good for him. Seeing Ziqianye's anger, Gui Su sighed helplessly. He turned around and left. Brother Ling Xiao, you're the best. At this time, Zilong and Ling Xiao were already hugging each other. The 2 of them had been together for a long time, although their relationship was not as close as Ling Xiao and Xiao Jin's, but it was still very good. I've already said that Nie Shuang is nothing in my eyes, said Ling Xiao smiling. Then he looked at Ziqianye, who was walking towards the Z government army. Where is elder sister going? Naturally, it's to comfort you, Qilong. After all, you killed Nie Shuang. She was his precious baby. Zilong smiled. He had no sympathy for Nie Shuang at all. Nie Shuang had made it clear that she wanted to kill Ling Xiao. In the end, she had even used her talismans and puppets. It was just that he didn't succeed. How could he possibly sympathize with such a woman? If he was still alive, he planned to stab him twice in the mountainous area. Yu Qilong was also quite depressed. Facing Ziqianye, he really wanted to flip out. But for the Blood Sun scripture and the inheritance of the Blood Sword Supreme, he had to suppress his anger. He even had to smile at Ziqianye. That kind of feeling was really too depressing. Just you wait, Ling Xiao. If I don't kill you, I'm not a human. And you, Ziqianye, aren't you high and mighty? Wait until I get the inheritance of the Blood Sword Supreme and my strength increases greatly. Then I'll do you first. I'd like to see what a high and mighty woman like you will be like in bed. Yu Qilong roared in his heart. Ling Xiao and Ziqianye had become the people he hated the most. After the Z government army left, Ziqianye also brought Ling Xiao back to the king's mansion. Compared to her disciple, her brother was obviously much more intimate. Ziqianye swore in public that she would treat Ling Xiao the same way she treated Zilong. Actually, she was expressing her attitude. In other words, Ling Xiao was Zilong's equal, and anyone who offended him would offend Ziqianye. Ziqianye was a protective person, and she especially loved her younger brother. Before they returned to the king's mansion, the news had spread across the entire king's mansion. Now, when people addressed Ling Xiao as Zilong, they would add the word young master behind his title. This made Ling Xiao sigh with mixed feelings. Originally, he didn't plan to leave the bloody battlefield until he broke through to the divine core realm. But he didn't expect that so many things would happen. Man proposes, God disposes. Because of this, he had become one of the masters of the king's mansion. Furthermore, his cultivation didn't fall behind. Instead, it had increased by leaps and bounds. He had also obtained a lot of good treasures. For example, he had gathered all the violet sun pills. He was planning to concoct the Violet Sun Fortune pill as soon as possible. Next, he would have to prepare to break through to the divine core realm. Also, when he was using the Blood Sun world, he discovered that there was a secret hidden within the Blood Sun world. It contained a body refining technique called Blood Yang Scripture. Cultivating the Blood Sun Scripture could increase the strength of one's qi and blood and the toughness of one's body. It could also increase one's cultivation speed. According to the Blood Sun Scripture, it could even strengthen one's inner core. If Zilong had cultivated the Blood Sun Scripture, he wouldn't have needed the 9-life pill, as his inner core would have been able to recover by itself. There was something else that was even more mysterious. After cultivating the Blood Sun Scripture, when he unleashed the Blood Shadow Sword skill, it would no longer be a high-grade second-order Emperor realm. It would be a third-order Emperor realm. The higher the level of the Blood Sun Scripture, the more powerful the Blood Shadow Sword skill would be. There were simply too many benefits. With such a great treasure, he would definitely spend some time cultivating it. Because of that, his plan to return to the bloody battlefield would have to be delayed. But he didn't care. The reason he went to the bloody battlefield was to increase his strength. The reason he stayed here was to increase his strength. It was all the same. All right, Ling Xiao, just stay in the king's mansion and cultivate. As long as you stay here, I can guarantee that no one will be able to touch you. Although Ziqian had many questions she wanted to ask Ling Xiao, she could tell that Ling Xiao wanted to seize the time to cultivate. So, she didn't want to disturb him. Hee, it's really good to have a king's sister. At least there's someone who can protect me. Ling Xiao smiled. Previously, he had acted alone most of the time. With Ziqian's protection, he naturally felt more at ease. By the way, king's sister, there's a Barbarian Bear restaurant in the outer city of Chaoyang City. It's owned by me and my brother. Please take care of it. All he had to do was protect them in secret. There's no need to be too loud, or Yu Qilong will be suspicious. Ling Xiao didn't forget his restaurant, nor did he forget his little brother, Barbarian Bear. If he could take care of him, he would naturally take care of him. Previously, he tried to pretend that he had nothing to do with the restaurant to protect Barbarian Bear. After all, he had provoked a lot of enemies. I didn't expect that restaurant to be owned by you. Its business is booming. I don't know where you got the spirit chef. Thinking about it carefully, you don't lack money at all. Chapter 3694. To be honest, the restaurant did make a lot of money. Just a month's profit could reach 100,000 upper-grade soulstones. But the problem was, Ling Xiao spent even more. Therefore, he still didn't have any money. All right, don't worry. I'll send someone to protect the restaurant. Ziqian said with a smile. Thank you, Sister Queen. If there's nothing else, I'll go cultivate now. Ling Xiao turned around, but suddenly stopped. He couldn't help but add, Sister Queen, you have to be careful of Yu Qilong. What's wrong? Did you notice something? Ziqian asked. No, I hope it's just my imagination. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with being careful, isn't there? Ling Xiao smiled. Then he turned around and left. Ziqian watched as Ling Xiao walked away. Suddenly, she furrowed her brows. I thought it was just my imagination. I didn't expect both Xiaolong and Ling Xiao would think the same. Looks like if you don't want anyone to know, don't do it in the first place. Yu Qilong, oh Yu Qilong, what are you planning? 2 days later, the entire Purple Spirit Capital was still immersed in the lingering heat of the martial competition. Ling Xiao's glorious image was still being sung in the streets. Even within the Purple Palace army, many people were secretly giving him a thumbs up. No matter what, being able to kill a divine core warrior with a divine vein cultivation base was an earth-shattering feat in the Golden Heavenly region. No one had ever done it before. Ling Xiao's status had naturally risen as well. In the entire Purple Spirit Kingdom, perhaps he was second only to Zilong. As for his innate talent, he was even considered to be the strongest in the history of the Purple Spirit Kingdom. The news was sent to the city of Raging Flame through a messenger pigeon. The people of the Meng family learned about it. Everyone was overjoyed. Dark Frost and the others immediately felt a heavy responsibility and pressure. Let's hurry up and cultivate, or else we'll never catch up to His Majesty. Jian Fulong shook his head and smiled bitterly. Their cultivation speed was already terrifying. However, Dark Frost's cultivation was only at the second level of the Divine Vein Realm. I have an idea. If we cultivate like this, the gap between us and His Majesty the Heavenly Emperor will only grow bigger and bigger. It was said that there was a secret realm in the raging Fire City called the Burning Heaven Realm. 9 out of 10 people who entered that place would die. However, if they managed to survive, their strength would increase by tens of times or even hundreds of times. I planned to give it a try. Dark Frost didn't want to stay here forever. She didn't want to be left too far behind by Ling Xiao. She wanted to follow in Ling Xiao's footsteps. Even if there was a slim chance of survival, she still had to try. I don't dare. That Burning Heaven Realm is really a devil's den. For the sake of cultivation, if you even lose your life, then it's not worth it. Meng Fian hurriedly advised. Ling Xiao had given Meng Fian and the entire Meng village a new lease of life. Therefore, the people in the stockade treated the warriors from the western regions very well. They wouldn't hide what they needed to say. The greater the risk, the greater the benefits. Dark Frost gritted her teeth. Her cultivation aptitude was actually not that good. Back then, she was able to become the top expert of the western regions because she had experienced countless pain and torture. She believed that she could do what others couldn't. No need to say any more. I'll go first. After understanding the situation inside, you guys can go in. It will be safer. Dark Frost had made a decision and no one could change it. At the same time, Z Mansion Army, outside the General's mansion. Tang Yi appeared there. However, the current Tang Yi felt different from before. His eyes were as black as ink, and it was a complete black. It wasn't just his eyeballs that were black. Even the whites of his eyes were completely black. His entire person exuded a terrifying evil aura, which made people feel very uncomfortable. I want to see Yu Qilong. A cold voice came out of Tang Yi's mouth. He actually called Yu Qilong by his name instead of General. Impudent. Is the General's name something you can call? A mere 10,000 men commander. The one who guarded Yu Qilong's door was also a 10,000 men commander. Therefore, he didn't take Tang Yi seriously. Get lost. Tang Yi sneered. Then he waved his hand. The two 10,000 men commanders were slammed into the wall, and when they fell to the ground, they had already fainted. Black smoke kept rising from their bodies. After that, Tang Yi stepped into the General's mansion. There were still guards in the General's mansion, but just as a conflict was about to break out, Yu Qilong's voice sounded out. Let him in. As a peak 4th Heavenly Core warrior, Yu Qilong had powerful divine sense. Of course, he knew what was happening outside. He knew what was happening to Tang Yi, and that was why he didn't ask his men to stop Tang Yi. There would only be one result if he tried to stop Tang Yi. Countless of his men would be killed. Inside the General's mansion, in the main hall, Yu Qilong was sitting on the main hall, staring coldly at Tang Yi, who was walking in. Idiot! How dare you try to break the seal on those monsters? Serves you right for being possessed. Hee, since the General already knows, then I won't waste my breath. I'm not here to pick a fight, I'm here to cooperate. Tang Yi sneered. Tell me, how do you want to cooperate? What do you want? Yu Qilong asked. It's simple. I can give you something, and I guarantee that you'll get that Z Qinya. But after the deal is done, you have to help me kill Ling Xiao and get Ling Xiao's body. I'm drooling over that guy's body. It's much stronger than this old thing's body. Tang Yi said with a smile. Show me what you have first. I want to see if it's suitable. Yu Qilong said. Of course. Tang Yi smiled. Then he gently touched the storage ring on his finger. Suddenly, a bug flew out from the storage ring. A pink bug. The moment it flew out from the storage ring, The entire main hall was filled with a charming atmosphere. At this moment, Yu Qilong felt his mouth go dry. His mind was filled with thoughts of Nie Shuang's body. His lower abdomen started to heat up. "It's a flower bug," Yu Qilong said in shock. Just the pheromones released by the bug were enough to make a man restless. If one was bitten by the bug, or if it entered one's body, one would turn into a complete, lustful demon. Tang, he quickly kept the bug and said with a smile, "General, you have a good eye. That's right, this is a flower bug. I've already made it into a goo worm. As long as that woman drinks it, she'll be under your control. She won't be able to control herself." "Good stuff." Yu Qilong's eyes shone. If he could get this, wouldn't he be able to control Zi Qinya easily? Then, Blood Sun World would naturally be his. Of course it's good stuff. This flower bug was the reason why I was captured back then. I traveled through the 4 regions and found this in the Savage Beast region. I refined it into a goo worm. After coming to Zi Fu Great Country, I did a few big things. Unexpectedly, I caused trouble for the Blood Sword Supreme and was killed by him. My soul was sealed in the water prison. Fortunately, the Blood Sword Supreme is dead now, and the seal loosened a lot. Otherwise, this old thing wouldn't be able to save me. Chapter 3695. I know now, you're that little silver worm. Not only have you seduced many women, you've also made them loyal to you. Many of those women were wives and daughters of high-ranking officials and nobles in the Purple Kingdom. When Yu Qilong was young, he had heard stories about this little silver worm from his family. But the little silver worm was now an old silver worm. Also, because he had been sealed for too long, his overall strength had been greatly reduced. Also, Tang Yi's physical strength was limited. Perhaps the old silver worm's current strength was only at the 3rd or 4th divine core realm. In the past, this old man had withstood 10 strikes from the Blood Sword Reverend. Perhaps he was at the 7th divine core realm. A real man doesn't boast about his past achievements, but I'm no longer as strong as I used to be. But as long as I can get Ling Zhao's body, I'll be able to return to the mortal world. The Blood Sword Reverend is dead. Who else can be my match? The old silver worm sneered. "Give me the thing. The deal you want is done." Yu Qilong said, "But I don't understand. With your strength, killing Ling Xiao should be as easy as blowing off dust. Why do you want me to do it?" "General, you must be joking. Don't forget, I'm a possessed body right now, and I'm afraid of soul attacks the most. That guy is an expert in soul attacks, and if he manages to force me out of my body, I'll be in big trouble." This was what the old silver worm was worried about the most. Therefore, even though his combat strength was much stronger than Ling Zhao's, he still needed Yu Qilong's help. "I see," Yu Qilong said, "but that guy is staying in the King Mansion. I can't do anything to him." "Don't worry about that, General. I know that kid well. Based on my knowledge, if he wants to break through to the Divine Core Realm, he'll have to enter the bloody battlefield again, even though he has 10 Purple Sun fortune pills. But there's one thing that can only be found in the Nether Realm." For the past 2 days, the old silver worm had done a thorough investigation on Ling Xiao. He even knew that Ling Xiao had obtained some rewards from the bloody battlefield. He guessed that Ling Xiao had most likely obtained some Purple Sun fortune pills. He also knew that Ling Xiao knew how to concoct pills. Therefore, he was basically certain that Ling Xiao possessed the Purple Sun nature pill. However, although the rumors in the pugilistic world were true, there were some omissions. In order to break through from the half-step Divine Core Realm to the true Divine Core Realm, in addition to the 10 Violet Sun nature pills, he also had to use the Nether Realm's profound underworld grass. Otherwise, the effects of the pill wouldn't have condensed into one. It would be impossible for Ling Xiao to break through. Therefore, he deduced that Ling Xiao would head to the bloody battlefield in the next 2 days. "All right. As soon as he enters the bloody battlefield, I'll immediately send someone to kill him. Anyway, that kid had offended a lot of people on the bloody battlefield. No one will suspect me." Yu Qilong sneered. Of course I trust you, General. I'll leave the flowery parasite to you. As for how to use it, write it down on this piece of paper. Old Silverworm smiled and used a bamboo tube to store the flowery insect goo. He then gave Yu Qilong a slip of paper. Aren't you afraid that I'll betray you? Yu Qilong sneered. You can try. The old Silverworm smiled faintly, turned around and left. It was as if he wasn't afraid that Yu Qilong would go back on his word. As soon as the old Silverworm left, Yu Hao walked out from behind the curtain. General, are you really going to listen to that old guy? Of course. Since we're making a deal, we should be honest. There's no need for us to offend such a disgusting guy. Anyway, killing Ling Xiao is my goal. Go and release Niafeng. Tell him that Ling Xiao will head to the bloody battlefield in a few days. Tell him to wait there. Find a chance to kill Ling Xiao. Yu Qilong said indifferently. All right. Yu Hao didn't say anything else and left. After he left, Yu Qilong counted the time with his fingers. That woman's birthday is in 20 days. At that time, it'll be my best chance. Zi Qianya, since you didn't give me face and refused me, then don't blame me for using such despicable means. I want you to become my Yu Qilong's slave, just as the old Silverworm had predicted. Ling Xiao's cultivation had run into trouble. In the past 2 days, he had refined 10 purple sun pills into purple sun creation pills. In the end, he realized that he couldn't achieve his goal. Helpless, he could only ask a Yuan Venerate for help. Now he knew. In addition to the 10 purple sun creation pills, there was another necessary item, the mysterious dark grass. It was a plant that only grew in the underworld. It seems like I have to head to the bloody battlefield immediately. Staying here is just a waste of time. Ling Xiao stood up. He pushed open the door of the cultivation room. Zilong? Zilong was standing at the door. What's the matter? Ling Xiao asked curiously. Let me guess. You came out of seclusion so quickly. Do you also want to go to the bloody battlefield? Zilong asked. It seems like great minds think alike. Ling Xiao sighed. That's right. There's not much meaning in just staying here and cultivating. If I hadn't narrowly escaped death last time, I probably wouldn't have been able to break through in a state of extreme anger. Therefore, I think that I have to go to the bloody battlefield if I want to break through. Zilong said. All right, that's exactly what I was thinking. Let's go and tell Big Sister, and then we'll leave. Ling Xiao knew Zilong's position in Zi Qianya's heart. If he left without saying goodbye, Zi Qianya would really go crazy. He didn't know how worried she would be. No way. Tell Big Sister? Ever since what happened last time, she won't let me take the risk again. Zilong said with a long face. You still have to go. You can't let her worry. Ling Xiao said like a big brother. Don't worry. With me around, Big Sister won't say no. In fact, it was just as Ling Xiao had deduced. Although Zi Qianya was worried about Zilong, Zilong was always under the protection of her wings. It was simply impossible for him to achieve anything. Besides, she was very relieved with Ling Xiao around. Ling Xiao was able to save Zilong twice, and that wasn't just because of luck. It also meant that Ling Xiao had extraordinary abilities. This was despite the fact that Ling Xiao was actually younger than Zilong. In terms of mental maturity, Ling Xiao was much better than Zilong. Big Sister, take care of yourself. We'll be back before your birthday. Zi Qianya cared a lot about Zilong, and Zilong really liked this big sister of his. Therefore, he would never forget her birthday every year. There were only 20 days left until Zi Qianya's birthday. They could stay in the bloody battlefield for a long time. Both men traveled lightly and headed towards the direction of the Purple Palace army. After a brief moment, Zi Qianya summoned a man. Gao Hong, go and follow them. Remember, don't let them find you. Also, don't do anything unless it's absolutely necessary. As for the details, you can do whatever you want. In short, bring them back to me alive. Yes, Big Sister. Gao Hong nodded his head and left. This Gao Hong was a peak 3rd divine core warrior. Even in the entire Purple Palace Kingdom, he could be considered a mighty warrior. Chapter 3696. Gao Hong was a peak major general, a basic lieutenant general. He was at the same rank as Yu Hao and Nie Fong, with him protecting Ling Xiao and Zilong. Unless Yu Qilong personally attacked, no one would be able to kill either of them. Therefore, Zi Qinya was not worried at all. And when they were about to arrive at Chaoyang City, Ling Xiao sensed a powerful presence with his soul strength, but he didn't say anything. He had seen this man before. He was a guard commander of the King Mansion. Needless to say, he was sent here by Zi Qinya to protect them. If that was the case, there was no need to say anything. He would just pretend he didn't know anything. After all, the bloody battlefield was filled with dangers. Although he wasn't afraid, Zilong didn't have a strong survival ability like him. With such a man protecting them, it was still safe. Brother Ling Xiao, you killed Nie Shuang. Will Yu Qilong do anything to you? When they were about to arrive at the inner city, Zilong worriedly asked, Don't worry, Yu Qilong wants to pursue your sister. He won't do anything to me. Not only that, he will treat me like an important guest, even though we haven't returned to the Purple Mansion army for so many days. He won't ask about it. But once we enter the bloody battlefield, it's hard to say. Ling Xiao's expression suddenly became serious. In fact, he didn't need to think too much, no matter if it was Yu Qilong or Nie Fong. They wouldn't let him go so easily. But even so, for the profound nethergrass, he had to enter the bloody battlefield. After arriving at the Purple Mansion army, Ling Xiao and Zilong didn't stop. They immediately flew towards the bloody door, back to the army camp. The current Ling Xiao was no longer the same as before. In the past, he was just an unknown pawn. No one would take him seriously. But now, he was the younger brother of the goddess country's queen. He was a peerless genius who defeated a divine core warrior with his divine vein cultivation base. Countless people were jealous of him, but on the surface, they still had to treat him with respect. Not to mention the ordinary soldiers. Even the captains had to put on a smile when they saw him. In terms of military rank, although Ling Xiao had challenged for the position of sergeant twice, in the end he didn't become one. Therefore, he was still an ordinary soldier. However, in this world, one's status was not determined by one's military rank. Instead, it was based on strength. Martial arts were respected. Whoever was stronger would be the king. Under the envious gazes of the crowd, Ling Xiao and Zilong had already arrived in front of the Bloody Gate. Many of the Kiliarchs guarding the Bloody Gate happened to change shifts that day. He had witnessed Ling Xiao killing Nie Shuang with his own eyes. Therefore, the people here had long regarded Ling Xiao as their idol. Although he didn't dare to say anything on the surface, he admired Ling Xiao from the bottom of his heart. Back then, when he entered the bloody battlefield, he was only at the 4th level of the Divine Vein Realm. But now, he was a half-step Divine Core Warrior. And the most frightening thing is, he actually defeated Nie Shuang, a Divine Core Warrior. Such words could be heard almost every day. Even Yu Qilong couldn't stop it. They couldn't possibly kill him just because he said something. If that was the case, he probably wouldn't be able to continue as a lieutenant general. Young Master Ling Xiao and young Master Zilong are here. Suddenly, someone shouted out. Everyone quickly gathered around. Thank you for your trouble. We're going to enter the bloody battlefield. Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. Look, young Master Ling Xiao is already the king's younger brother, but he's still so polite. Unlike that Nie Shuang, his eyes are growing on his head. Young masters, please wait for a moment. We'll let you in after you've registered. This was what they meant by special treatment. When Ling Xiao and Zilong arrived, there were other people waiting for them at the Bloody Gate. However, the people here still went through the formalities for the two of them first. They were allowed to enter the bloody battlefield. However, no one else said anything. When Ling Xiao and Zilong stepped into the bloody battlefield, The news had reached Yu Qilong's ears. "Brother Qilong, here's your chance." Yu Hao looked at Yu Qilong and said, "That's right. To be honest, I didn't expect him to be so daring. He knows that Niafeng and I will definitely kill him. But he still dares to enter the bloody battlefield?" Yu Qilong sneered. "I heard that Gao Hong is following him." Yu Hao added, "Gao Hong's strength is on par with yours, and he's even stronger than Niafeng. It's obvious that Zi Qianye is very protective of his two younger brothers. But is it useful? Go tell old Silverworm to deal with Gao Hong. Gao Hong's strength is good, but his soul power isn't that strong, and he definitely doesn't know any soul secret techniques. Niafeng will take the opportunity to kill Ling Xiao, and if there's a chance, kill Zilong too." Yu Qilong said in a deep voice. Old Silverworm had been staying in the Purple Mansion Army with Tang Yi's identity. But what if Zi Qianye finds out about this? Yu Hao asked. "What a joke. Ling Xiao killed Niafeng's sister. Isn't it natural for Niafeng to want revenge? At most, we'll be responsible for not stopping him. As for Tang Yi, he's also trying to avenge his grandson. Do you think I can just stand by and watch them do whatever they want to do?" Yu Qilong sneered and said, "Besides that woman Zi Qianye, do you really think she's that stupid? If I'm not mistaken, she's already suspicious of me. If that's the case, what do I have to be afraid of? At most, it'll only increase her suspicion. Without any evidence, she won't dare to say anything. Otherwise, she'll ruin the relationship between the Zi family and our Yu family. She can't bear this responsibility. Brother Qilong, you're really wise." Yu Hao smiled and said, "Ling Xiao is now a bigger threat than Zi Qianye. We can't let him continue to grow like this. Every time he grows, he'll bring us trouble. I'll go find Tang Yi now." After entering the bloody battlefield, Ling Xiao and Zilong left the underground shelter together. After that, they headed towards the Xiling nether region. This time their goal was very clear. It was the Xiling nether region. Other places were no longer attractive to them. In the nether region, there were more opportunities, more terrifying murderous auras, and faster cultivation speed. There were also powerful demon beasts. Divine core demon beasts could be found everywhere. For Ling Xiao, who loved to improve his strength through battles, this was a huge help. Of course, his main goal was still the profound nether grass. Once he obtained the profound nether grass, he would be able to break through to the divine core realm. Once he broke through to the divine core realm, he would be one step closer to becoming a moon lady. As for Ling Jiaojiao, Xindian, Xiaojin, Longchen, and Cold Plum, he could put them aside for now. At least, Xindian wasn't dangerous. As for the others, they were all here to cultivate, and each of them had their own room to grow. However, Moon Maiden Yu Fenghua was different. Yu Fenghua was captured and forced to marry him. Therefore, he had to meet her as soon as possible. Perhaps at that time, Yu Fenghua thought that his promise was just empty talk. But he didn't think so. For the sake of this promise, he had been cultivating like crazy. Now he was getting closer and closer to those mighty warriors in the Eternal Emperor region. Chapter 36:97. As their strength got closer, the distance between Ling Xiao and Yu Fenghua was also getting closer. He believed that the time would come soon. "Brother Ling Xiao, what are you thinking about?" Zilong suddenly laughed. He interrupted Ling Xiao's contemplation. "Nothing. I just miss a few friends. Every one of them trusted me as much as you do, but I couldn't protect them." Ling Xiao sighed with emotion. In fact, the others were fine. They all made the choice on their own for better development. But he really couldn't do anything about Yu Fenghua. That feeling of grievance still made his heart ache. "It's okay. With your cultivation speed, Brother Ling Xiao, you will soon become a top expert in the 4 major regions. At that time, no matter where your friends are, you will be able to save them." Zilong encouraged. "By the way, I have a suggestion. Why don't you marry my sister, Brother Ling Xiao? Although you are brother and sister, you're not related by blood after all." My sister's appearance and strength are worthy of you. After marrying her, you will get the power of the bloodline of the Z family. I believe that your aptitude will become better than before, and your cultivation speed will be faster. Unfortunately, I am not worthy of her." Ling Xiao shook his head gently. He didn't want to bear the debt of love anymore. His heart was very small and could only accommodate one woman. The more people he provoked, the more debt of love he owed. So for many women, even if he knew what they were thinking, he would play dumb in the end. He was focused on martial arts and didn't have much energy to devote to love. The Moon Lady was the only woman he pursued wholeheartedly, and this woman, in order to protect him, eventually fell into the 10 reincarnations. He couldn't be a heartless person. Okay, pretend I didn't say anything. The 3 of us will be brothers and sisters. Zilong's mind was also very delicate. He felt that he had touched Ling Xiao's sore spot that he didn't want to mention. So he said, "All right, let's be sisters and brothers. To be able to meet a brother like you and a sister like Zi Qinya, I, Ling Xiao, have not come to this little violet spirit kingdom in vain." Ling Xiao smiled. "It's the same for me. Before I met you, Brother Ling Xiao, I was famous for having a sister complex. I don't care about anyone else. But after meeting you, I feel that there really is someone in this world who is compatible with me. I'm lucky." Zilong sighed. "All right, don't be so mushy. You're giving me goosebumps. We don't have much time, let's hurry." Ling Xiao smiled bitterly. This kid was too good at stirring up emotions. If he continued talking, who knew what he would say? He transformed into the yin-yang cosmic light tiger, flapped his wings, and flew forward. Zilong also followed. Zilong was a 2nd-level divine core warrior, so of course he could fly. He was worried that Ling Xiao wouldn't be able to keep up with his speed. But now it seemed that his worries were unnecessary. Ling Xiao's speed wasn't any slower than Zilong's. The reason why they dared to travel to the Nether Realm was because they had enough confidence. When these 2 men fought together, even a 3rd-level divine core warrior would be at a disadvantage. After all, Zilong was a 2nd-level divine core warrior, and he was also a genius. It was normal for him to fight someone with a higher level than him. As for Ling Xiao, he had too many strange tricks up his sleeve. If an early 3rd-level divine core warrior ran into them, he would be in big trouble. If a 2nd-level divine core warrior ran into them, he would be dead for sure. In the entire Violet Spirit Netherrealm, the strongest warriors were only peak 3rd-level divine core warriors. Even if they couldn't win, they could still run for their lives. Along the way, both men tried their best to avoid fighting and killing. Because it was meaningless, it was just a waste of time. While traveling, Ling Xiao was still cultivating. Zilong really envied Jiang Chen's ability to multitask. He kept protecting Jiang Chen. It only took them 2 days to travel from the sanctuary to the Nether Realm. Finally, Ling Xiao had completely consumed the Oracle Bone. His black tortoise divine physique had reached the high 2nd-level Emperor realm. The energy contained within the 10,000 years old Oracle Bone was something that couldn't be ignored. High 2nd-level Emperor realm black tortoise divine physique. In other words, if a warrior with the same level of strength attacked him with a high 2nd-level Emperor realm martial skill, he could completely negate the damage. Remember, it was the same level of strength, not the same level of cultivation. If Ling Xiao had possessed the high 2nd-level Emperor realm black tortoise divine physique during the martial competition, then Nieshuang wouldn't have been able to hurt him. This was how amazing it was. If combined with the myriad transformation weapons defense, Ling Xiao's defense could reach the low 3rd-level Emperor realm. His defense would become even more insane. The increase in his defense had also increased his combat strength by a large margin. He could now use more of his true yuan to attack, which meant he had freed up all his attacking power. We're finally here, the Violet Spirit Nether Realm. The terrifying killing intent kept attacking them, as if thousands of soldiers were charging at them with weapons in their hands. If it were any other ordinary divine vein warriors, they would have already fainted. There was no way they could defend against this terrifying killing intent. But he was Ling Xiao. Therefore, he could defend against it, and he could do it with ease. What Zilong couldn't accept the most was, it seemed like Ling Xiao was able to convert this killing intent with his beast souls, which made Zilong envious. Over there! Ling Xiao looked at the map in his hand. He was here to find the profound nether grass. So of course he had brought a map with him. The profound nether grass in the nether realm had been used by others, so he knew where it grew. Brother Ling Xiao, you have to be careful from now on. Normally, the profound nether grass grows near the center of the nether realm. The closer you are to the center, the more dangerous it is. Zilong reminded. In this damned place, no matter if you encounter a demon beast or a warrior, a fight could break out. That's even better. Ling Xiao smiled. If he could break through to the divine core realm through fighting, he could save the purple sun pills. He wondered how Darkfrost and the others were doing. They might need them when the time came. Even better, Zilong truly admired Ling Xiao's guts endlessly. When others heard about the dangers of the nether realm, they didn't dare to set foot in it. But this brother of his was a good person. It seemed like the more dangerous the place was, the happier he was. Both men walked in the nether realm. They kept walking towards the center. After about 2 hours, they saw a building. The style of this building was similar to a shelter. Ling Xiao guessed that it might be the Purple Palace Army's building. Therefore, he walked towards it with Zilong. After asking around, it was true. This place was called the Mission Tower. Completing some special missions for the Purple Palace Army could earn a great reward. Ling Xiao found a mission, and it had the same destination as his. It was to go to the place where the profound nether grass grew. Mission location, Profound Nether Valley. Mission objective: investigate the source of the infectious disease in the Profound Nether Valley's exploration team. Investigate the cause of death of the exploration team leader. Capture or kill the murderer. Double the reward. Ling Xiao knew where the Profound Nether Valley was, because it was on the map in his hand. It was a place where the profound nether grass grew. It was also his destination. Chapter 3698. Ling Xiao knew about the exploration team. They were sent by the Purple Mansion Army. They were sent here to find out more about the bloody battlefield. The exploration team in the Nether Realm was made up of divine core warriors. According to the mission, the captain of the exploration team was a peak first rank divine core warrior. He wasn't very strong, but he should be able to survive in the Nether Realm. Besides, there were a lot of people in the exploration team, and as long as there weren't any major accidents, there wouldn't be too many casualties. But this time, because of the infectious disease, many people in the exploration team had died. If this continued, the entire team would be wiped out. The most troublesome thing was, because they were carrying an infectious disease, they were forbidden from leaving the Dark Abyss Valley. Unless someone could find out the source of the infectious disease and find the right medicine, these people would be finished. What's wrong, Brother Ling Xiao? Do you want to accept this mission? Seeing Ling Xiao staring at the mission, Zilong couldn't help but ask, "We're still missing 2 people, right?" Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. This mission required 5 members. What was interesting was they had left 2 spots open, as if they were waiting for 2 of them to join. Brother Ling Xiao, aren't you afraid that this is a trap? Zilong lowered his voice and asked, "Compared to a trap, I'm more interested in what this exploration team found." Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face, "What do you mean?" Zilong was puzzled. Have you noticed? After looking at all the information, the source of this infectious disease is really strange. The exploration team captain's death is even more strange. It gives people a feeling that he's trying to hide something. I believe that the reason why the Zifu army issued this mission was because they had realized this. That's why they want to send someone to investigate. In the past, there were people who found secret treasures, but didn't want the Purple Mansion army to know. Then they faked their deaths. Ling Xiao explained. That's possible. Zilong nodded his head. He was interested as well. Let's go. They purposely left 2 spots open for us. It'll be a waste if we don't join. Let's see what kind of trick they're playing. Ling Xiao had observed the team's composition. The 3 men in the team were Captain Zhang, linearly 2nd, level Divine Core Realm. Vice Captain Yen Chuang, early 2nd, level Divine Core Realm. Team member Heiyu, early 1st Divine Core Realm. This Heiyu was the same Heiyu that Ling Xiao competed with when he entered the Ghost Devil Palace. At that time, Heiyu was just a half-step Divine Core Warrior, but now he was a 1st Divine Core Warrior. It seemed like he had made a breakthrough. Of these 3 people, Ling Xiao did not recognize the first 2, but they were very strong. Furthermore, he was clearly hostile towards him and Zilong. An imperceptible killing intent flashed in his eyes. There was no need to mention Heiyu. He already had a grudge against him. Logically speaking, with such a combination, they would definitely not be allowed to join the team. But in reality, when they asked to join the team, the other party readily agreed. Thus, Ling Xiao thought of a possibility. They were going to Xianming Valley to carry out a mission. This way, Gao Hong, who was in charge of protecting them from the shadows, couldn't follow them. After all, the profound Nether Valley was guarded by a 3rd Divine Core Warrior. You want to kill us in Xianming Valley? But will I be afraid? Ling Xiao sneered. No matter what, he had to get the profound Nether Grass. Therefore, no matter what, he had to go to Xianming Valley. Zilong, after we enter the profound Nether Valley, don't go too far away from me. I think these men might do something bad to us. But if we handle them well, not only will we get the profound Nether Grass, we might even get something incredible. Ling Xiao had always been confident in his own judgment. This time was no exception. With him and Zilong together, even a 3rd Divine Core Warrior wouldn't be able to kill them easily, let alone a 2nd Divine Core Warrior. Therefore, there was no need to be afraid. After the team was formed, the team was ready to depart. Captain Zhang Lin gazed at Ling Xiao and Zilong with an indifferent expression. After that, he said, "This mission is very important. I hope you 2 won't drag us down. Don't act on your own. Listen to my orders, or else. Don't blame me for being rude." Vice Captain Yen Chuang closed his eyes and didn't say anything. It seemed like he was resting. However, Ling Xiao knew that he was in cahoots with Zhang Lin. On the other hand, Heiyu had a gloating expression on his face. Obviously, he was still holding a grudge against the Ghost Devil Palace. At the same time, 2 men were standing by the window on the highest floor of the mission tower. One was Nia Feng and the other was Tang Yi. Humph, I don't understand. If we attack, we can easily kill those 2 brats. Why do we have to go through so much trouble? Nia Feng didn't seem to be satisfied with the plan. Tang Yi laughed. General Nia, they can't escape from your palm. What are you afraid of? Let these 2 unlucky guys help us check out the situation in the profound Nether Valley. The infectious disease in the profound Nether Valley is most likely related to the bloodthirsty general under the Blood Sword Supreme. Once they finish their investigation, we'll be able to get more information about the Blood Sword Supreme. Although you're right, he killed my sister. I really want to kill him right now. Nia Feng's expression was still cold. He also killed my son and 2 of my grandsons. Tang Yi's expression was normal, but his strength had increased a lot. Obviously, in order to avoid trouble, he had put away the old silver worm. Half a day later, Zhang Lin's team entered the profound Nether Valley. They arrived at the mission destination, profound Nether Valley. There was a strange smell in the air. It made people feel uncomfortable, but it wasn't poisonous. Ling Xiao was certain of this. The 5 of them stood several hundred meters away from the exploration station. They discovered that the exploration station was deathly silent. It was as if there were no living things around. The 5 of them had solemn expressions. They didn't know how the exploration team was doing. According to reliable information, The exploration team's residence has been invaded by a strange virus that is hard to see with the naked eye. More than half of the 300 people in the exploration team are dead. The exploration station is like a ghost town. Zhang Lin said with a frown. Ling Xiao, go inside and check out the situation. Once you're sure there are no problems, come find us. Captain Zhang Lin ordered. I'll go too. Zilong didn't forget Ling Xiao's reminder. The two of them should stay together and not be left alone. Before Zhang Lin could object, the two of them had already left. This made Zhang Lin a little depressed. Yan Chuang's eyes were also filled with cold killing intent. But they were already far away, and there was nothing they could do. Zilong, eat this to prevent yourself from being poisoned. As a precaution, Ling Xiao gave Zilong a poison prevention pill. It should be said that this pill could resist most viruses and poisons. After all, Ling Xiao himself was a poison expert. Thanks. Zilong swallowed the pill without hesitation. Then, the two of them flew up and stood on a tree. From here, they could see the entire exploration team. Chapter 3699. In order to have a better view of the situation inside, Ling Xiao immediately activated his Tai Chi Eye. At that moment, the entire situation of the exploration station was reflected in his mind. Even the terrain of the entire dark abyss was under his control. With this, if anyone wanted to harm them, he would have the advantage. One had to know that the things recorded by his Tai Chi Eye were much clearer than those who were born and raised here. Brother Ling Xiao, according to the mission report, the infectious disease here doesn't seem to be harmful to divine core warriors. It's not harmful to half-step divine core warriors at all. Do we really need to be so careful? Zilong asked with a smile. It's better to be safe than sorry. We can't be careless just because of the information. Ling Xiao was a man who had been through a lot, and he was much more mature than Zilong. If the information was so accurate, why didn't the Purple Mansion Army allow those people to go out and get treated? All the warriors of the Purple Mansion Army in the Nether Realm were at least at the Divine Core Realm, except for Ling Xiao. Obviously, there were still people who were worried about accidents. Let's just treat it as groundless worries. It's never wrong to be careful. Let's go and have a look. After learning about the situation inside the exploration station, Ling Xiao called out to Zilong and entered the exploration station. The reason he did this was to deal with that idiot Zhang Lin. Secondly, he wanted to understand the situation of the exploration team in advance. After all, what the Tai Chi I saw was only the surface. Without a deeper investigation, there were still many things he wouldn't know. The exploration station was pretty big. It covered an area of about 10 acres. Right now, most of the places inside were quiet, as if they were in a cold ghost town. Occasionally, one could see a few people who were still alive, but most of them didn't even have the strength to move. Their eyes were blank and lifeless. It was as if they had completely collapsed. If they weren't divine core warriors, they would have died long ago. Now, they were hanging on by a thread, and no one knew what they were waiting for. It's really an infectious disease. Most of their organs have been infected. If not for their inner cores, they would have died. Through the Tai Chi Eye, Ling Xiao could clearly see the condition inside these people's bodies. He couldn't help but shake his head. He continued walking. This was the only pure land in the exploration team. There was a quarantine zone set up here. The martial artists inside were all people who were not infected, and there seemed to be quite a lot of them. Most of the people here were early, first divine core warriors, but occasionally a mid-first heavenly core warrior would appear. There was another person who should be one of the people in charge here. His cultivation had reached the late first divine core realm. Are the two of you from the Z Mansion Army? The man walked up and asked excitedly. Yes, we are here on a mission to investigate the source of the infectious disease and the cause of death of the exploration team leader. Zilong replied, Great, I'm the third leader of the exploration team. Everyone calls me Captain Chin. The old man said excitedly, To tell you the truth, We've been waiting for rescue. It's been a long time. Tell me in detail. Ling Xiao didn't want to listen to nonsense, but he wanted to sort out the whole story. It would help him to understand the whole affair more deeply, regardless of whether it was to complete a mission or to search for treasures. They would all be of great help. Captain Chen nodded his head and invited the two men into the quarantine zone. After disinfecting the area, he started telling them the story. The outbreak of the infectious disease started about a month ago. No one knew where it came from, but it was definitely from the profound Nether Valley. Because during this period of time, no one from the profound Nether Valley had left the valley. As for the exploration team leader, he died on the 10th day after the outbreak of the infectious disease. Speaking of which, the team leader said he was going to search for the source of the infectious disease. He even brought a few men with him, but less than 1 mile away they were attacked. The battle lasted for a long time. The team leader sent out a distress signal. When we brought our men to help, we found out that the team leader was dead. Captain Chen's expression turned ugly as he spoke, as if he had just recalled something horrifying. But he still finished telling the story. After that, he kneeled down on the ground. Both of you, I beg you, we don't want to die here. Now we're trapped in this place. We can't get out. We can only wait for death. Zi Long comforted Captain Chen. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, was lost in his thoughts. From the context of the entire incident, the death of the exploration team leader seemed to be related to the outbreak of the infectious disease. He was killed by a sneak attack. It was most likely due to the investigation. In other words, this infectious disease was probably man-made. To be able to kill the exploration team leader and more than 10 people accompanying him, this group of people was definitely not weak. However, this was just speculation. He needed to investigate the scene. No matter what it was, it could not escape his Tai Chi eyes analysis. Zi Long, send out a signal and call those 3 idiots over. Ling Xiao said to Zi Long at the thought of this. Zi Long nodded and sent out a green signal flare. Red meant danger. Yellow meant more danger. Green meant safety. As long as they saw this green signal flare, the 3 of them would know that they were safe. A moment later, the 3 of them arrived at the quarantine zone. Captain Chen explained the situation in detail again. Why don't we go to the place where the exploration team leader died? Ling Xiao suggested. I'm the team leader. I don't need you to remind me. Let's go there and take a look. Zhang Lin glared at Ling Xiao, then he left. The place where the exploration team leader and the others fought was a desolate forest. This was how the profound Abyss Valley was. There were very few people here. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent the exploration team here. What surprised everyone was that although a few days had passed, there were still traces of the battle. The traces of the battle here were still preserved, as if deliberately left for them to see. Ling Xiao didn't care about Zhang Lin's analysis. Instead, he activated his Tai Chi eye and started investigating. After a moment, he furrowed his brows. The situation was slightly different from what he had predicted, but he didn't say it out loud. Even if he said it out loud, Zhang Lin wouldn't care. Right at this moment, Zhang Lin said, according to the analysis of the traces of the battle, there were quite a number of enemies, around 20 of them. The strength of the bandit leader is probably on par with the exploration team leader, or maybe even stronger. But he's no match for us. I think he's just a peak first-rank divine core warrior. As expected of Captain Zhang, your analysis is clear and logical. Hey, you nodded. I agree with Captain. Yan Chuang agreed with Zhang Lin's analysis as well. After all, they were on the same team. Zi Long didn't say anything. Ling Xiao sneered in his mind. This Zhang Lin was strong, but he wasn't good at analyzing things like this. Most of the traces of the battle were fake. They weren't real. Chapter 3700. After inspecting the scene, everyone returned to the quarantine zone. At the mention of the exploration team leader's body, Captain Chin said that the body was infected with bacteria. Therefore, it was directly cremated. Can I see the ashes? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. See the ashes? Is there something wrong with your brain? The ashes are all the same. What can you see? Hey, you said disdainfully. Ling Xiao ignored him and just looked at Captain Qin. If this young master wants to see it, I'll go get it. After a while, Captain Qin brought the ashes of the exploration team leader over. Ling Xiao examined it carefully and found something fishy. Others might not be able to see any clues from the ashes, but his Tai Chi eye could. However, after seeing it, he did not say anything. What a waste of time. Zhang Lin said sarcastically. Ling Xiao did not think much of it. Next, everyone split up to search the exploration station. However, after working for a long time, they still found nothing. At this time, the sky was already dark. Then, they returned to the quarantine zone, disinfecting and eating. Ling Xiao, Zilong tonight, Yan Chuang, and I need to conserve our energy. You two are responsible for the night watch. Zhang Lin's tone was unquestionable. It was obvious that he was deliberately bullying them. Zi Long wanted to say something, but he was stopped by Ling Xiao. After eating, the two of them went to the edge of the quarantine zone to keep watch. At this time, Zilong had the time to ask, Brother Ling Xiao, that Zhang Lin is too much. We don't have to be afraid of him. Afraid of him? Ling Xiao smiled and said, What's there to be afraid of? Just wait and see. Something will definitely happen tonight. They won't be able to sleep well. Did you find something? Zilong asked. I did find something, but I'm not completely sure. There's no evidence. Ling Xiao said. Just as he said this, he suddenly felt a gust of cold wind blowing towards him. He hurriedly dodged. At the same time, Zilong also felt it and dodged at the same time. A poisoned dagger flew between the two of them and hit the ground. In just an instant, the ground was corroded. Who is it? Zilong roared and was about to give chase when he was stopped by Ling Xiao. What's the rush? The situation is unclear. Don't act rashly. At this moment, Zilong's shout alarmed Zhang Lin and the others. Many people rushed out of the house to inquire about the situation. Someone tried to assassinate us earlier, but he failed. After that, he escaped to the forest where the exploration team leader was killed. Zhang Lin did not believe it at first, but the members of the exploration team who were in charge of guarding the area also said that they had seen it. Hearing these people's words, a smile appeared on his face. This time, if they could complete the mission, they would be rewarded handsomely. The assassin who had suddenly appeared in the middle of the night was a very important clue that could not be missed. Follow me. Thinking of this, he waved his hand and led the charge into the forest. Since he had already left, it would be bad for the others not to follow. Everyone followed behind and chased in the direction of the forest. Not long after, the sounds of Zhang Lin fighting with the enemy could be heard. Stop! After a brief exchange, the enemy managed to escape. It disappeared into the pitch-black forest. Zhang Lin hesitated for a moment and did not chase after him. That was the place where the exploration team leader was killed. There was a strange atmosphere there. He was not stupid and did not want to be the one to stand out. When everyone caught up, Zhang Lin looked at Ling Xiao and said, You go in and check the situation. Zhang, I've been unhappy with you for a long time. Why should the two of us do the dangerous work? Are you F*King eating SH*T? Although you're the leader of this team, don't forget that we're not your subordinates. We're just a temporary team. Zilong had been holding it in for a long time. At this moment, he finally exploded. What? You want to disobey my orders? Yan Chuang sneered. It was obvious that they were about to attack at the slightest disagreement. He was also rubbing his hands together. If there was a chance to hit them while they were down, he would not be soft-hearted. Xiaolong, some people are timid and afraid of trouble. Why bother with them? Come, let's go in. Ling Xiao said sarcastically. Then he dragged Zilong into the forest. When it came to playing mind games, these people were not as good as him. Seeing Ling Xiao's action, everyone else was a little stunned. Obviously, the enemy had not left the forest. Moreover, he had intentionally lured them here. The forest was definitely dangerous. Ling Xiao actually took the initiative to volunteer. What on earth was he planning? He was not that stupid. Brother Ling Xiao, what are you doing? Entering the forest. Zilong was puzzled. Sure. Ling Xiao made a shushing gesture and then suddenly shouted. Little thief, let's see where you can run to. Xiaolong, let's pincer attack. Oh, Zilong did not know Ling Xiao's intention, but he was still very cooperative. The two of them even deliberately made sounds of attacking. After a while, rustling sounds came from the forest. Zhang Lin and the others came in. Sorry, Xiaolong. Ling Xiao suddenly threw Zilong into the beast ring and then entered the shadow warrior form. In the darkness of the night, he completely disappeared without a trace. Where is he? Zhang Lin and the others entered the forest, but found no one. There seemed to be traces of a fight. Ling Xiao, Zilong. A few people called out a few times, but no one responded. The silent forest was like a terrifying demon beast with its bloody mouth wide open. It devoured the two men. This is bad. I think those two men were killed. Yan Chuang said with a frown. Although the mission given by General Niafeng was to deliberately tease and torture the two of them, Niafeng had no choice but to do so. But now, those two men had disappeared. Even if they wanted to claim credit, they needed dead bodies. But in the silent forest, there was no one and no dead bodies. They would not be able to explain this to the others when they returned. Captain Zhang, let's retreat. This forest is too strange. First, the captain of the exploration team was killed. Then, Ling Xiao and Zilong mysteriously disappeared. The captain of the exploration team was a peak first rank divine core warrior. Zilong was an early second rank divine core warrior. He Yu's expression was ugly. He no longer had the domineering aura he had back in the ghost demon palace. There was nothing he could do. He knew the situation back then. That was why he was so confident. But now he knew nothing about the situation in the Dark Abyss Valley. Because of this, it was extremely frightening. Actually, he wasn't the only one. Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang were terrified as well. Captain Qin and the rest of the exploration team were trembling with fear. After hearing what He Yu said, Zhang Lin nodded his head and said, Retreat, this isn't cowardice, it's a strategic retreat. Hee. Since you're here, why are you leaving? All of you stay and accompany me. Suddenly, a strange laughter sounded out. Black smoke rose up from the forest. Everyone shuddered in fear. Be careful, everyone, there's trouble. Actually, Zhang Lin didn't need to shout. Everyone had noticed it. The black smoke seemed to be some kind of illusion formation. Once it was released, it would be very difficult for them to leave this place. The enemy wanted to trap them here and slowly kill them. Chapter 3701. Cough, cough, there's poison. There's poison in the air. Suddenly, Yan Chuang coughed twice. Then he shouted out in fear, Hold your breath! Ha 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 ha. Too bad. You shouldn't have come here. While laughing, a man stepped out from the darkness. He was wearing a black metal mask, and he looked extremely creepy in the dark. Bam! He Yu realized something was wrong, and he tried to escape from the sky. However, just as he flapped his wings and flew into the sky, he slammed into something. He was bounced back. Damn it, this formation is made up of an illusion formation, a poison formation, and a trapping formation. We've been set up. The poison in the air wasn't fatal to divine core warriors, but as time passed, the poison would merge into their bodies. It would cause their bodies to become weak, and their overall strength would decrease. If they couldn't leave in time, they would be dead for sure. It's useless. In my Heavenly Dipper myriad poison illusion formation, you can only wait for death. There's no path to heaven, no door to hell. Unless you can break this formation, all of you will die here today. The man with the black metal mask said with a grin. He seemed to be very proud of himself. Following the appearance of this man, the poison in the air became even stronger. This forced Zhang Lin, Yan Chuang, He Yu, and the others to circulate a huge amount of their true yuan to resist the poison. As for the men brought by Captain Chen, some of them had died. After all, they were too weak, and there was no way they could resist this deadly poison. Perfect first rank divine core warrior. If it wasn't for this bullshit formation, you wouldn't be our match. Who the hell are you? Zhang Lin felt depressed. His opponent's cultivation was much weaker than his, but he couldn't even land a single hit. Because of the existence of the illusory array, each of his attacks landed on empty space. Captain, you're the captain. Captain Chen suddenly shouted out in shock. Although his opponent was wearing a mask, they had been together for a long time. Captain Chen could still recognize his voice. What? Wasn't the exploration team Captain cremated? Why is he still alive? Zhang Lin looked at Captain Chen and asked angrily. I don't know, even I'm confused. The reason why Captain Chen asked for help was because the exploration team captain was dead and he had no other choice. Besides, he was sure that the cremated corpse was the exploration team captain's. I didn't expect you to recognize me, old Chen. That's right, I'm Zhang Rishan, the captain of the exploration team. Old Chen, you did very well. The sacrifices were found in batches and then died in batches. Our plan is about to succeed. Zhang Rishan, what are you talking about? I don't understand, don't slander me. Captain Chen panicked. Damn thing! How dare you set us up? Yan Chuang suddenly roared and rushed over to slap Captain Chen to death. Captain Chen was only a late first heavenly core warrior, but Jiang Chen was a second stage divine core warrior. He could easily kill Jiang Chen. Idiot! Seeing that Captain Chen was killed, Zhang Rishan sneered. Think about it. If he was really one of my men, I would have killed him. Will I let you kill him? You lied to us. Yan Chuang was dumbfounded. Fortunately, the sacrifice doesn't require intelligence. Otherwise, you wouldn't be qualified. Zhang Rishan sneered. Soon, as long as I destroy you, the great bloodthirsty demon general will bestow me with even greater power. At that time, I'll be a second stage divine core warrior. Only now did the crowd notice that something was wrong with Zhang Rishan. There was an obvious evil look in his eyes. Furthermore, there was a strange mark on his forehead. It looked like a blood-red plum blossom. This blood-red plum blossom was the mark of bloodthirsty demon general, one of the blood sword deity's generals. Kill! Zhang Rishan suddenly dashed forward. The blood-red plum blossom on his forehead shone with a strange red light. After that, his strength skyrocketed. His strength had reached the second stage divine core realm. Zhang Lin hurriedly circulated his energy to defend himself. But he was still pushed back a few steps. There was nothing he could do. Within this formation, his strength was constantly being weakened. On the other hand, his opponent's strength wasn't affected at all. Soon, he would no longer be Zhang Rishan's opponent. Right at this moment, two more black figures dashed in. Both of them were wearing black iron masks. One was tall and skinny, the other was short and fat. Both of their cultivations were weaker than Zhang Rishan's, but they were both late first stage divine core warriors. Captain, those two guys are gone. We've searched every corner of this formation, but we couldn't find them, the tall and skinny warrior said. Did they run away? Whatever. The Lord Devil General is going to be resurrected soon. So what if they manage to escape? Let's wait until the last batch of sacrificial offerings is delivered. When the Lord Devil General is resurrected, even the Lieutenant General of the Purple Mansion Army will be no match for him. You too, let's work together and kill these three men as soon as possible. Zhang Rishan furrowed his brows, but he quickly relaxed them. It seemed like he didn't care that Ling Xiao and Zilong had run away. If Zhang Rishan was alone, it wouldn't be easy for him to kill these three men in a short period of time. After all, Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang weren't pushovers either. Both of them were second-stage divine core warriors, and they were extremely powerful. Although they were weakened by the formation, they still weren't easy to kill. He Yu was from the feather race, and he was extremely fast, making him hard to deal with. But with the three of them working together, the situation was much better. Big bro Ling Xiao, do you need help? I think they won't be able to hold on any longer. No one knew that there were actually two spectators in this ongoing battle. One was Zilong from the Beast Ring. The other was Ling Xiao, who was in his shadow warrior form. Of course, we need to save them. But let's wait until they have suffered enough. These three bastards must have received an order from someone to kill us. We can't let them off without suffering some pain. Ling Xiao said with a cold voice. Then why don't we just kill them? Zilong asked with a puzzled expression. No, I feel like that bloodthirsty devil general is much scarier than these three bastards. Therefore, we can't let them become sacrificial offerings, or else we'll be in trouble. We need to keep them alive. Ling Xiao explained. While they were talking, Heiyu had been sent flying away. Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang were covered with wounds as well. Actually, these two men didn't have any grudges against Ling Xiao. It was purely because of Nie Feng's order that they wanted to kill Ling Xiao. At this moment, they really regretted it. They had all heard that Ling Xiao was an expert in formations. If Ling Xiao hadn't gone missing, this mere formation shouldn't be able to stop them. Damn it. Heiyu was also very depressed. He was only dissatisfied with Ling Xiao because of what happened in the Ghost Devil Palace. But he also knew about Ling Xiao's abilities. At this moment, he simply missed Ling Xiao very much. Unfortunately, no matter how much he cried, there was no response. He could only wait for death. Kid, obediently become a sacrificial offering for the Lord Devil General. This is your glory. The short and fat warrior raised his steel saber and slashed at Heiyu's neck. My life is over. Heiyu closed his eyes. However, in the next moment he heard a scream. Chapter 3702. When Heiyu opened his eyes, he discovered that the short and fat warrior had fallen to the ground. Ling Xiao was crazily attacking. On the other side, Zilong had appeared and stopped Zhang Rishan. This scene made Zhang Lin, Yan Chuang, and Heiyu extremely happy. They didn't expect reinforcements to arrive. I've destroyed the poison and illusion formations. Let's work together and kill them. Ling Xiao had destroyed the poison and illusion formations, but he didn't destroy the trapping formation. He didn't want Zhang Lin and the others to take the opportunity to escape. Although he could still fight a late, first divine core warrior, it would be troublesome for him to win, especially since this opponent wasn't an inexperienced little girl like Nieshuang. He was a real veteran. He had relied on a sneak attack to get the upper hand. Therefore, Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang couldn't leave. But he was worried for nothing. When these two men discovered that the poison and illusion formations had been destroyed, they vented all their anger. The tall and skinny old man was pressured to the point that he couldn't breathe. After 2 or 3 strikes, he was killed by Zhang Lin. Ling Xiao decided to let Yan Chuang deal with the short and fat old man. He was now a peak half-step divine core warrior. Even if he fought again, he wouldn't gain much. He would need a special opportunity to break through. He would try his best to conserve his strength. After a brief moment, the short and fat warrior was killed by Yan Chuang as well. But Zhang Rishan had realized something. He had given up on Zilong and started attacking Ling Xiao. In his mind, Ling Xiao was the key to this team. The formation he had spent so much effort to set up was easily destroyed by this young man. His foolproof plan had been destroyed by this young man. This young man must die. Luckily, he could tell that Ling Xiao was only a half-step divine core warrior. If he attacked with all his strength, Ling Xiao wouldn't be able to withstand his attack. Zhang Lin, Yan Chuang, stop him! Zilong didn't expect the furious Zhang Rishan to be so fast. Seeing that he couldn't catch up, he asked Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang for help. But what Zilong didn't expect was Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang didn't stop Zhang Rishan. Instead, he intentionally or unintentionally blocked Ling Xiao's escape route. Shameless. The purple dragon was enraged. If it weren't for him and Ling Xiao, the two of them wouldn't have survived. But just as they were out of danger, these two actually wanted to take Ling Zhao's life. He really wanted to tear these two people into pieces. Don't blame us. You can only blame Ling Zhao for killing Nie Shuang and offending General Nie Feng. Zhang Lin and Yen Chuang both felt that they had done the right thing. They knew very well that this was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. They had received Nie Feng's order to kill Ling Zhao, and now was the best opportunity. They didn't need to make a move. They could just borrow Zhang Rishen's hand to kill Ling Zhao. It wasn't repaying kindness with enmity. Of course, this was only what they thought. In Zilong's opinion, they were worse than pigs and dogs. Faced with the sudden change of events, Ling Zhao's expression was as indifferent as ever. From the moment he made a move to save them, he actually knew very well what kind of people he was saving. If he wasn't worried that the bloodthirsty demon general would be resurrected after these guys died, he really didn't bother to make a move. Of course, since he had already expected it, it was impossible for him to do nothing. A bunch of idiots. He smiled contemptuously. Ling Zhao's figure suddenly disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. At this time, Zhang Rishen's attack had just arrived in front of Zhang Lin and Yen Chuang. The two of them had no time to resist at all. After being blasted out by Zhang Rishen's palm, they were both seriously injured at the same time. Of course they wouldn't die. Damn, what kind of method is this? Zhang Lin and Yen Chuang hurriedly got up from the ground. They knew that they had been fooled by Ling Zhao, but at this time, they didn't have time to think carefully. Because Zhang Rishen couldn't find Ling Zhao, he could only vent his anger on them. Originally, either of them could defeat Zhang Rishen, but now two of their colleagues were seriously injured. They were no match for Zhang Rishen even if they joined forces. They wanted to escape, but the trapping array's effect was still there. They fled here and there, but still couldn't escape from this small area. The next moment, the purple dragon also disappeared. It was once again put into the beast ring by Ling Zhao. Ling Zhao, purple dragon, how dare you leave us in the lurch and run away? Do you know how the Purple Mansion army treats deserters? Death by 1,000 cuts. Death by 1,000 cuts. Hurry up and come out to help. Zhang Lin was sweating profusely. He had been injured before, but it wasn't too serious. But now his injuries were getting worse and worse. Naturally, if he continued like this, he would really be killed by Zhang Rishen. But even so, he was still arrogant, relying on the fact that he had Nie Feng's support. He was insufferably arrogant. He even tried to threaten Ling Zhao. Ouch, I'm so scared. Is there something wrong with your head? I gave you face before because I didn't want to fight with you. Because we don't have any grudges against each other. But you actually took advantage of my face. I even dared to kill Nie Shuang and offend you, Qilong. Do you think you can scare me with this? Are you an idiot? In the darkness, Ling Zhao's voice came from all directions. It was impossible to tell where it came from. Ah! Zhang Lin screamed. One of his arms was cut off by Zhang Rishen. Yen Chuang's situation wasn't much better. One of his eyes was missing. He screamed in pain. The two of them were about to die. Ling Zhao was about to make a move. It was still the same reason. Compared to these two good-for-nothings, the bloodthirsty demon general was more dangerous. At this moment, Zhang Rishen was somewhat smug. If it weren't for these people's internal strife, he would have been killed by them. Now, as long as he could take advantage of this opportunity to kill the two in front of him, he would have enough sacrifices. Plus the two dead vice captains. There were also the people from the exploration team. It was time for the bloodthirsty demon general to be resurrected. Purple dragon, do it! In the darkness, a voice suddenly sounded. Then, Zhang Rishen saw a person suddenly appear and pounce on him. He hurriedly dodged. Unexpectedly, he felt a pain in his waist and realized that he had been stabbed. The person who attacked him was Ling Zhao, who had been hiding in the darkness. Run! Zhang Rishen didn't even think about it. The red plum blossom on his forehead became more gorgeous. He crazily turned into a streak of bloodlight and fled into the distance. Ling Xiao directly chased after him. His figure turned into a streak of red lightning. His speed was no slower than Zhang Rishen's. Seeing this, Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang were somewhat shocked. Ling Xiao's speed was actually so fast, he was much faster than either of them. If they couldn't kill Ling Xiao this time, they really didn't know how long they would have to wait. They chased after him in the dense forest. A few minutes later, Ling Xiao found that the streak of red light suddenly disappeared in a graveyard. This graveyard was where the Zifu soldiers who had died here were buried. Where is he? Purple Dragon, who had caught up, asked. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Back to his nest, of course. I suspect that's where the so-called bloodthirsty demon general is. Chapter 3703. In front of them was a pitch-black mass grave. There were also countless tombs and mounds of dirt. They could also see ghost flames flying up into the sky from time to time. Why are they hiding here? Looks like some kind of formation has been set up here, Zilong said. And there is indeed a formation here. If not, the exploration team would have found us long ago. Ling Xiao nodded his head and said, Ling Xiao, why don't we forget about the past and enter the place together? You'll be the one to break the formation, and you can take 50% of the treasures here. What do you think? Zhang Lin wasn't an idiot. When he saw this secret place, he immediately thought of a possibility. Zhang Rishen was originally an early First Heavenly Core warrior. After he joined the exploration team, he quickly broke through to the peak First Heavenly Core realm. After that, he became the team leader of the exploration team. Everyone thought that it was because he was gifted, but now Zhang Lin finally understood. This guy must have encountered some kind of fortuitous encounter. The fortuitous encounter was hidden in this place. But too bad, he didn't know anything about formations. Apart from Ling Xiao, no one else knew anything about formations. Although he didn't want to share anything with Ling Xiao, in order to break the formation here, he needed Ling Xiao's help. Yan Chuang and He Yu had the same thought as well. Therefore, they both nodded their heads and agreed. Just a moment ago, they were fighting to the death, but now, all three of them had disgusting flattery written on their faces. This man was indeed driven by his own interests. I can't tell General Niafeng about this place. If I do, I'm afraid everyone else will want to get their hands on Bloodthirsty's inheritance. Zhang Lin thought about it carefully. First, he would use Ling Xiao's ability to break the formation and enter Bloodthirsty's place of inheritance. Not only would he be able to complete the Purple Mansion Army's mission, he would also be able to get his hands on Bloodthirsty's inheritance. As for the promise he made, it was just empty talk. As long as he could get his hands on the inheritance, he would kill Ling Xiao. If that was the case, his promise would be meaningless. Because of this, he dared to promise to give half of the treasures to Ling Xiao. Then I'll have to thank Major General. Ling Xiao said with a smile. How could he not know what this bastard Zhang Lin was thinking? However, if they wanted to enter the bloodthirsty general's lair, they would need someone to be the scapegoat. Besides, it was still uncertain who was scheming against whom. Of course. Who asked you to be the only array master here? Zhang Lin said with a smile. Then I'll break the formation. Ling Xiao also wanted to go in and take a look. The bloodthirsty demon general's inheritance was much more attractive to him than the mysterious dark grass. He had also obtained many inheritances in the past. Therefore, he was very clear that every time he received an inheritance, his strength would increase greatly. Right now, he was in need of an inheritance. He definitely couldn't miss it. Yan Chuang, hurry and recover. Hearing that Ling Xiao had agreed to break the formation, Zhang Lin called out to Yan Chuang. He swallowed the elixir and rested at the side. With their current situation, they were no match for Ling Xiao, let alone Zilong, who was a second-stage divine core warrior. The most important thing now was to recover his strength. If he was seriously injured, he wouldn't be able to get anything. But how could Ling Xiao give them the chance to recover? Breaking a formation like this was just a piece of cake for him. The bloodthirsty demon general was a man from a few thousand years ago. If the formation was maintained for too long, it would cause more flaws to appear. With his Tai Chi eye, he could easily tell. Then, breaking the formation would be extremely easy. After a brief moment, he suddenly waved his hand and unleashed a sword energy that pierced through the air. Swoosh! Crack! The sword energy penetrated into the darkness and produced a loud explosion. After that, everything went silent. Can you really do it? I told you you're an expert in formations. But is this how you break the formation? Are you trying to gather all the demon beasts in this area? Zhang Lin was startled by the loud explosion and opened his eyes. He couldn't focus on healing his injuries, so he couldn't help but roar out. Shut up! Why don't you break the formation? Ling Xiao gazed at Zhang Lin coldly and sneered. Zhang Lin opened his mouth. His stomach was filled with anger, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't vent it out. Fine. Very good. I'm sorry, you can continue. He needed Ling Xiao to break the formation, so he definitely didn't dare to offend Ling Xiao. Just based on this point alone, no matter what Ling Xiao said, he had to accept it. At that moment, there was a buzzing sound. The scenery in the dark night changed drastically. The strangest thing was that the entire mass grave had disappeared. In its place was a huge building. It was like a palace. The door of the palace was closed, emitting a strange and terrifying aura. It made people feel very uncomfortable. It's broken. Zilong was so excited that he was about to rush in. However, he was stopped by Ling Xiao. Major General Zhang Lin, Major General Yan Chuang, shouldn't you two go in first? Don't tell me that I'm in charge of breaking the formation and have to be your vanguard? The two major generals want the treasure, but your guts are as small as a needle's eye? Ling Xiao looked at Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang and sneered. Ling Xiao, I think it's better if you take the lead. No one knew if there was a formation inside. What if there was a formation? Both of us don't know anything. What if something happens? Zhang Lin said with a bitter smile. Cowards! Ling Xiao said with disdain. Don't forget that Zhang Rishan entered this place from here. Zhang Rishan entered this place when he was still an early first heavenly core warrior. Also, it was obvious that he had found some good fortune. That's why his cultivation had improved so much. Both of you, are you weaker than Zhang Rishan? If you don't want to go in, I'll leave first. But if we find something good later, don't blame me for being first come, first served. Ling Xiao felt it was really funny. Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang were major generals. They weren't weak, but they were such cowards. How could such people dream of obtaining the bloodthirsty devil general's inheritance? Wasn't this a joke? That inheritance could only be obtained by those with courage. Those without courage would probably be scared away halfway through. All right, let's do it. Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang exchanged glances. In the end, they walked in front. Actually, both of them were competing with each other. Both of them were on par with each other. That's why both of them were worried that the other would snatch the good inheritance before them. Both of them walked into the entrance, one after another. Behind the entrance, the path was quite spacious. The buildings here looked like they were from an ancient era. Not only were they from a few thousand years ago, Ling Xiao guessed that when the bloodthirsty devil general came here, these buildings had already existed. Maybe he was seriously injured at that time and had no choice but to hide inside. The air inside was cold and evil. There was also a faint aura of bloodline. Zhang Lin felt excited but also nervous. He was excited because the aura was similar to the one Zhang Rishan had. Of course, he was nervous because he didn't know what dangers were lurking inside. That's why he wasn't sure. Ling Xiao kept his Tai Chi eye open to observe. This place was filled with strange things. Perhaps the bloodthirsty devil general's inheritance was here. But there was another possibility. It was a devil's den. This wasn't an inheritance, but the real bloodthirsty devil general. Chapter 3704. Look, what's that? Zhang Lin, who was walking in front, suddenly cried out. Right now. The group had arrived at the bottom of the building. The space here was even bigger than the building above. Because of a special formation, it was always bright inside. The place Zhang Lin was pointing at was actually an altar. On top of the altar, there was a delicate statue. Ling Xiao didn't know who the statue was, but Zilong did. I can't be wrong. This is the Blood Sword Supreme, not the bloodthirsty devil general. Could it be that the one they want to resurrect is the Blood Sword Supreme? Zilong was surprised. Who is the Blood Sword Supreme? Ling Xiao asked curiously. You don't know who the Blood Sword Supreme is? You're so ignorant. Zhang Lin said with disdain. He is the founder of the Purple Palace Army, the former king and marshal of the Z Palace Kingdom. His strength had reached the frightening 8th divine core realm. Apart from the emperor of the Dongxing Kingdom, no one in the Dongxing Kingdom was able to stop him. However, the Blood Sword Supreme was a murderous man, and he had almost fallen into the path of evil. He killed both evil and innocent people. In the end, he was chased by the emperor of the Dongxing Kingdom for 10 days and 10 nights. Then he disappeared into a bloody battlefield. Since his altar is here, it means he is dead. Ling Xiao didn't care about his tone. Instead, he looked at the statue of the Blood Sword Supreme. It was a warrior wearing a blood-red battle robe and carrying a long sword on his back. Although it was just a statue, Jiang Chen could still feel the horrifying murderous intent coming from it. Entering the path of Tao through killing, it's a good way. Too bad. Falling into the path of evil is something no one can accept. Ling Xiao sighed. Suddenly, his spirit realm trembled. A murderous intent rose in his heart. This path of killing is quite suitable for me, because I have the martial soul of tyrant. It's impossible for me to fall into the path of evil. The aura of a human king is protecting me. Even the king of sovereigns in the profound world can't threaten me. Ling Xiao had no idea where the Blood Sword Supreme had died. But if he was really dead, he would like to find him. He might be able to find something incredible. It was just a statue. The aura it released caused everyone's face to turn pale. His entire body was trembling. Even He Yu was already kneeling on the ground. If the Blood Sword Supreme came, how terrifying would it be? Don't be afraid. Blood Sword Supreme is already dead. It was just a sculpture. It was probably set up by the remnants of the Blood Sword Supreme to summon his soul. There was no need to worry. Let's continue. Sometimes, greed could really cover up everything. Although Zhang Lin was very scared, since he had already entered, he did not want to leave empty-handed. Besides, even the first divine core warrior, Zhang Rishan, was able to come and go as he pleased. What were they afraid of? There should be no one else. However, the huge pool of blood around the altar still gave people a strange and terrifying feeling. Suddenly, the blood pool began to move. Zhang Rishan climbed out of the blood pool. His cold eyes looked at the people in front of him, and he let out a strange laugh. Interesting. I didn't expect you to be able to barge in. However, this will save us a lot of trouble. General, they're here. He suddenly looked at the blood pool and said respectfully. This voice caused the hearts of several people to tremble. General? Could it be the bloodthirsty devil general? If it was the real bloodthirsty devil general, none of them would be able to survive. All of them would die. Bang! A frightening aura was unleashed. The 5 men were unprepared. He Yu was kneeling on the ground, and he immediately laid down on the ground. He couldn't even straighten his back. Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang immediately knelt down as well. Zilong wanted to kneel down as well. However, he was stopped by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao injected his human king aura into Zilong's body. The frightening aura was expelled from his body. Through this aura, Ling Xiao could confirm that if the bloodthirsty devil general was really in the blood pool, that meant his overall strength had been greatly reduced. Right now, he was only at the peak of the 2nd divine core realm. He believed that his Tai Chi I wouldn't make a mistake. If this was the case, then things would be much easier as long as the 5 of them worked together. Even if the enemy was the real bloodthirsty devil general, they would still die. Dark nether grass? Ling Xiao saw that there were actually a few stalks of black medicinal herbs beside the altar. They looked exactly the same as the dark nether grass recorded in the eternal divine pill scripture. After confirming it with his Tai Chi eye, he found out that it was the real deal. This was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it without any effort. He quickly walked over and pulled out the 3 dark nether grasses. After that, he swallowed them together with the 10 purple sun fortune pills. What he needed right now was strength. The stronger he was, the higher the possibility of defeating the bloodthirsty devil general, and he would be safer. At this moment, a frightening energy started exploding within his body. Monstrous waves surged in his sea of cultivation, constantly bombarding the incomparably thick gate of breakthrough. Compared to the breakthrough of a small realm, the door to breaking through to the next major realm was too solid. He had no idea how long it would take, but he was looking forward to it. Right at this moment, a figure slowly emerged from the blood pool. A few daring juniors. How dare you intrude into my resting place? How dare you disturb the blood sword sovereign's resurrection? You deserve to die. A cold and terrifying voice kept echoing within the underground space. A blood-red monster stood up from the pool of blood. Blood-red hair, blood-red eyes. Even his skin was blood-red. Right now, he didn't look like a human. He looked more like a red-haired zombie that had lived for thousands of years. Aside from Ling Xiao, the rest of the men were trembling with fear, and their expressions were dark. Zilong was in a better state, as he had Ling Xiao's help. The other 3 men had lost their will to fight, and their eyes were filled with fear. That formless and terrifying pressure was simply too terrifying. But it was this overwhelming pressure that made Ling Xiao calm down. He could feel that this bloodthirsty devil general was bluffing, although a peak-second divine core warrior was stronger than any of them. If the 5 of them joined forces, this bloodthirsty devil general wouldn't be a match for them. But too bad some of them were useless. Please spare our lives, General. Please spare our lives. We didn't mean to disturb your cultivation. We also didn't mean to disturb Lord Blood Sword's resurrection. We just didn't mean to intrude. Zhang Lin kept kowtowing as he shouted in fear. That's right, we didn't mean to intrude. Please let us live. We're willing to do anything for you. Yan Chuang's head was also pounding down like garlic. Hey, you fainted from fear. Sai, what a bunch of trash. If you all had strong willpower, why would you be afraid of him? Ling Xiao sighed. Brother Ling Xiao, what should we do now? Zilong looked at Ling Xiao and asked nervously. Don't worry, let's kill these traitors first, so they won't turn around and attack us later. I think these pieces of trash have been completely frightened by that monster. As for that monster, he's only a peak-second divine core warrior. If we join forces, it won't be difficult for us to kill him. Ling Xiao told Zilong using his divine sense. Chapter 3705. After hearing what Ling Xiao said, Zilong immediately calmed down. The reason why he was so scared was because he didn't know how strong Jiangchen was. Since he knew, there was no reason for him to be scared. Now, suddenly, Ling Xiao made the first move. A resplendent sword light blossomed in the underground world. Ling Xiao struck with the frightening blood shadow sword art. He needed to kill Jiangchen with a single strike. He couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Blood shadow kill. In an instant, his figure turned into a blood-red shadow. At the same time, he circulated the blood sun scripture. The frightening power of a third-order Emperor Realm Marshal skill was unleashed. A trail of blood appeared on Zhang Lin's throat. He didn't even have time to react before he died on the spot. In order to prevent Zhang Lin from becoming a sacrifice, Ling Xiao immediately threw Zhang Lin's corpse into his storage ring. A storage ring was different from a beast ring. Living things couldn't live in it, but it didn't matter how heavy things were. Right when Jiang Chen killed Zhang Lin, Zilong's divine Great Emperor Spear pierced through Yan Chuang's back. Zilong's cultivation was the same as Yan Chuang's, but his combat strength was much stronger. Plus, it was a sneak attack. Naturally, he succeeded. Ling Xiao kept Yan Chuang's corpse as usual. Zilong continued his attack and killed He Yu as well. Right at this moment, he couldn't afford to be soft-hearted. If not, he would be in a very passive situation. In just an instant, all three men were killed. Even the bloodthirsty devil general was dumbfounded. The two young men in front of him were incredibly fast. They didn't hesitate at all. "How dare you steal my sacrifice? You're courting death." The bloodthirsty devil general was furious. Originally, with those 3 sacrifices, he would be able to break through to the third order divine core realm. But now, things had turned out this way, and it really made him furious. "Come on, what are you pretending for? Although you're strong, you're not as strong as before. You're only a peak second order divine core warrior. Also, you've turned into a red-haired zombie, so I'm sure your mobility has been greatly reduced. Do you really think we can't tell?" Ling Xiao sneered. After being exposed by Ling Xiao, the bloodthirsty devil general furrowed his brows. His expression turned ugly. So what? You're just a half-step divine core warrior. No matter what, you're just a divine vein warrior. He couldn't use it at all. Although his cultivation is at the second divine core realm, he is still no match for me. Killing the 2 of you is as easy as flipping my hand. The bloodthirsty demon general coldly snorted. "Xiaolong, you go and deal with that Zhang Rishan. Remember, kill him as quickly as possible, then come and help me. I'll hold this bloodthirsty demon general back." Ling Xiao ignored the bloodthirsty demon general and suddenly said to Zilong. Right now, he had already begun to break through. In battle, he would definitely be able to speed up his breakthrough. Understood. Zilong thought for a moment and understood Ling Xiao's idea. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation was not as high as his, nor was his battle prowess, he had all kinds of tricks up his sleeves. It was very likely that he could stall the bloodthirsty demon general. He could also kill Zhang Rishan in a short period of time. This was the best choice. If it was the other way around, no one would be able to fully unleash their abilities. Kill. Zilong pounced on Zhang Rishan. Zhang Rishan sneered, then he dashed outside. It looked like he was trying to stall for time, allowing the bloodthirsty demon general to kill Ling Xiao. Zilong followed behind him. Jie! The bloodthirsty demon general looked at Ling Xiao and let out a creepy laugh. This horrifying laugh echoed throughout the entire underground world. "Kid, you're too arrogant. Killing you is as easy as lifting a finger. You can give it a try." Ling Xiao's mission was to stall for time. Since the bloodthirsty demon general wanted to chat, he was more than happy to play along. While speaking, he had already transformed into the peerless heavenly rat. At the same time, he unleashed the Yin-Yang cosmic tiger, Nine Snake General, Infernal Undying Bird, Cerberus Infernal Shadow Rabbit, and Divine Frost Dragon. Each of these beast souls could double or triple his battle prowess. Furthermore, they all came with special skills. Facing such a frightening opponent, even if he wanted to stall for time, he had to become extremely powerful. The innate 30% God-fiend sword soul naturally wouldn't forget. Only a fool would hide this martial soul that could increase the attack power of sword skills by 13 times. At this moment, Ling Xiao only had the tyrant martial soul that he hadn't exposed yet. He planned to use it at a critical moment. He wanted to catch his opponent off guard. The bloodthirsty demon general revealed a surprised expression. He really didn't expect that Ling Xiao's combat strength would actually increase by leaps and bounds in such a short period of time. This really came as a surprise to him. Looks like I have to kill this kid quickly. Otherwise there will be trouble. The bloodthirsty demon general had a feeling that Ling Xiao might become his nemesis. If he couldn't kill him as soon as possible, it would be even more troublesome next. However, just as he was about to make his move, something even stranger happened. Bloodthirsty plague. Ling Xiao released a terrifying ability. A large amount of plague bacteria pounced on the bloodthirsty demon general's body. At that moment, something strange happened. Even Ling Xiao himself didn't expect it. The bloodthirsty plague actually caused such a terrifying amount of damage to the bloodthirsty demon general. A huge amount of blood and qi was being sucked away. The bloodthirsty demon general's combat strength instantly dropped. The peak second divine core cultivation base that he had spent so much effort to recover by sucking the bloodthirsty plague's blood dropped to the late second divine core realm. And it was still dropping. It was incredibly fast. Only when it reached the early second divine core realm did it slow down a lot. Perhaps it was because he had just broken through to the peak second divine core realm from the early second divine core realm. His cultivation base had already stabilized, and it wouldn't drop so easily. But this was already shocking enough. There was something even more shocking. Not only did the bloodthirsty plague absorb the bloodthirsty demon general's blood and qi furthermore, it had sucked up all the blood in the blood pool. The terrifying energy had completely merged with Ling Xiao's body. It had turned into a blood-red tidal wave. With just a single wave, it had broken through the door. The water core in Ling Xiao's body was becoming more solid, and it had turned blood-red, as if it was a blood core. Early core formation realm, mid-core formation realm, late core formation realm, peak core formation realm, peak core formation realm. The increase in Ling Xiao's combat strength was out of control. After he broke through to the divine core realm, his combat strength skyrocketed. His combat strength skyrocketed all the way to the peak first divine core realm. The core formation realm was the first stage of the divine core realm. The blood core in Ling Xiao's body had completely solidified, and it had become solid. Furthermore, it was at least 10 times stronger than a peak core formation warrior's blood core. The feeling was simply terrifying. The most terrifying thing was the blood had seeped into the transformed, peerless heavenly rat. It had actually caused the peerless heavenly rat to mutate. No beast soul had merged with it. The peerless heavenly rat had actually broken through to the 8th divine core peerless heavenly rat. This saved Ling Xiao the trouble of searching for a beast soul. Chapter 3706. Previously, the peerless heavenly rat's combat strength had been greatly reduced. It was only 2 to 3 times. But now, it had once again recovered to 10 times. Ling Xiao's combat strength had skyrocketed. Before this, he was only planning to stall, bloodthirsty, and stall for time. But now he was ready to fight. What did you do? What did you do? Bloodthirsty was in a frenzy. What could he do? After Ling Xiao absorbed all his blood and qi, his combat strength had been greatly reduced. He was only at the early second rank divine core realm. What was even more depressing was that even the blood pool that could allow him to quickly improve his combat strength had been completely absorbed by Ling Xiao. It had taken him more than a month to complete it. Just like that, it had become someone else's work. Damn it! Damn it! I'm going to kill you! I'm going to kill you! Bloodthirsty let out a furious roar as he leapt toward Ling Xiao. He swore to himself that he would tear Ling Xiao into pieces. Ling Xiao sneered. Without dodging, he began circulating his true yuan. After that, he took out the Ice Age and Blood Sun world. Then he unleashed his terrifying true yuan and launched an attack. 5th form of the 9 transformations Celestial Fiend skill. God extinguishing purgatory. Void lock. Bang! Both men collided into each other. Then they separated at the same time. Ling Xiao was knocked back dozens of steps. Bloodthirsty was also knocked back a few steps. Neither of them were injured. However, in this collision, Ling Xiao was obviously at a disadvantage. That was because the martial skills that the bloodthirsty demon general had casually displayed were all 3rd level Emperor class martial skills. Thinking about it, the bloodthirsty devil general was once a 6th level divine core warrior. He must have learned 3rd order Emperor ranked martial skills. Because of his limited combat strength, he couldn't unleash any high-level martial skills. But he could still use third-order Emperor-ranked martial skills freely. In terms of martial skills, Ling Xiao was at a disadvantage. But in terms of combat strength, he was no longer at a disadvantage. Again, Ling Xiao sneered. 10 swords appeared at the same time. His cultivation had broken through to the divine core realm, and he had broken through to the peak divine core realm. Ling Xiao could finally unleash all 10 swords at the same time and unleash the 9 sovereign sword art. At the same time, the 9 swords seemed to have been sealed. All of them advanced. From the original precious Grade Emperor artifact to the immortal Grade Emperor artifact. The weapons became stronger. All the attacks became stronger at the same time. Now, the power of 9 swords combined into one was comparable to a low third-order Emperor Realm Master. 8 swords combined into one could reach high second-order Emperor Realm. 7 swords combined into one was also a low-grade second-order Emperor Realm. As for the 10 swords combined into one, its power reached the terrifying third-order Emperor Realm. Ling Xiao could feel the true essence in his body, crazily gushing out. His potential was rapidly drained. It surged into his sea of cultivation. 10 swords in one kill. With a roar, 10 sword lights were released at the same time and merged into one in the air. It turned into a 10-colored sword light. Not good. The bloodthirsty demon general was shocked. He had never expected that this kid who had already surprised him was actually still able to display such a terrifying sword move. He roared, and at the same time he also started to circulate a high-grade third-order Emperor-class martial skill. Bloodthirsty fist scripture, boiling, rumble. Once again the 2 attacks collided. Terrifying energy jumped crazily in the underground world. The entire underground world began to shake. If it weren't for the stability of the 4 major regions, the entire underground world would have collapsed. The 2 were in a stalemate for a moment. Then, the bloodthirsty demon general flew backward and fell heavily to the ground. Their strength was equal. Their martial skills were equal. However, the bloodthirsty demon general was at a disadvantage because of his weapon. Ling Xiao had 10 immortal-grade Emperor-class weapons, but the bloodthirsty demon general was barehanded. Ah, dash! The bloodthirsty demon general stood up and roared crazily. He was angry and a little frightened. "Brother Ling Xiao, I'm here." At this moment, Zilong appeared. His appearance made the bloodthirsty demon general's situation even worse. "Where's Zhang Rishan?" Ling Xiao asked. "Killed. I've put the corpse in my storage ring. It's a mission item." Zilong laughed. "Okay, then let's join hands to kill this guy." Ling Xiao should be able to kill the bloodthirsty demon general by himself. But with Zilong's help, it would be much faster. Who knew if there would be any other dangers? He didn't want to get hurt here. Mad dance of corpse poison. Suddenly, the bloodthirsty demon general let out a furious roar. In an instant, the entire underground world was covered by a green poisonous mist. Ling Xiao took a sniff. This poisonous mist should be the source of the infectious disease in the exploration team. Now he had completed one of the missions. He would be rewarded with many upper-grade soul stones. "Zilong, run now." He suddenly thought of something. Then he shouted at Zilong. Although Zilong had eaten his poison prevention pill, this poisonous mist was not ordinary. It was similar to the bloodthirsty demon plague, and it had its own consciousness. The poison prevention pill didn't have much of an effect. "Run? It's too late. Both of you will die here today. Even if I don't do anything, you won't be able to escape from here," the bloodthirsty demon general said with a grin. He realized that he might not be a match for Ling Xiao right now. That's why he had to use this poison. This poison was brewed by him after staying here for a few thousand years. Any warriors below the 3rd level of the Divine Core Realm would be poisoned. Even warriors above the 3rd level of the Divine Core Realm wouldn't dare breathe it in. Otherwise, they would have to spend a lot of energy to dissolve it. Therefore, he was sure that both Ling Xiao and Zilong would be poisoned to death. Plop! Zilong fell onto the ground, and his face turned green. Shit, brother Ling Xiao, I think I'm going to die soon. Although he was a second-level divine core warrior, in terms of poison resistance, he couldn't compare with Ling Xiao. Don't worry, I'm here. Ling Xiao waved his hand, and Zilong was placed into the beast ring to rest. As for the poison in his body, it would be slowly absorbed by his body. The most important thing now was to kill the bloodthirsty demon general. And, although you've broken through, you're only at the peak core formation realm. He actually had such a strong resistance to this corpse poison. You're even better than an iron core warrior. The bloodthirsty demon general was surprised, but after a brief moment he still sneered, "It's useless. At most, you can hold on for a little longer. You're going to die soon. 3 breaths. 3 breaths at most." The bloodthirsty demon general looked at Ling Xiao with confidence. However, 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. 3 breaths later, Ling Xiao was still standing there, and he didn't look any different. On the contrary, a proud smile emerged on his face. Impossible! The bloodthirsty demon general panicked once again. He had tried this poison many times. Even a 3rd-level divine core warrior would fall unconscious after inhaling it. This guy was only a peak 1st divine core warrior. How could he be so calm? Ling Xiao sneered. He didn't pay any attention to the bloodthirsty demon general. 9 snake heads stretched out from his back. After that, they opened their mouths and started devouring the terrifying poison. The poison kept entering the 9 snake heads. Suddenly, the 9 snake general's beast soul actually broke through. 9 Hell Hydra, 3rd Divine Core Beast Soul. Chapter 3707. Interesting. I never thought this bloodthirsty devil general would be my lucky star. I'm starting to like him. Ling Xiao was really happy. After meeting this bloodthirsty devil general, not only did he find the profound nether grass because of the blood pool, he had also broken through to the perfect 1st divine core realm. In other words, he was now at the perfect core formation realm. Now he had even upgraded the 9 snake demon beast soul to the Hell Hydra beast soul. He had even obtained a 2nd special skill. Wasn't this his lucky star? Hee, I'm sorry, bloodthirsty devil general. Your corpse poison is actually delicious to me. I really need to thank you. Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. Monster. You're the real monster. Bloodthirsty devil general's expression became extremely ugly, and fear could be seen in his eyes. Ling Xiao was too mysterious. He was so mysterious that no one could understand him. In this world, the most frightening thing wasn't strength, but the unknown. And it was because of the unknown that people were afraid of. However, he was an old monster who had lived for thousands of years. Although he was afraid, he quickly returned to normal. Suddenly, he dashed into a room in the underground world. Ling Xiao did not have the time to chase after him. He had already come out. There was a pair of gloves on his hands. Kid, even if you can resist the corpse poison, you're still too weak. The only thing you're stronger than me in is your weapon. Now, I have a divine emperor weapon as well. What can you do to me? Is that so? If this is all you've got, I'm afraid you won't be far from death. Ling Xiao said with a mocking tone. The martial soul of Tyrant, his biggest trump card, he hadn't used it yet. It seemed like there were no outsiders here. He didn't mind using it. However, he had just broken through, and he needed a fight to stabilize his cultivation. That was why he didn't use the martial soul of Tyrant or Blood, Lightning God. Otherwise, if he used either of them, Bloodthirsty Devil General would be dead. Kill. Ling Xiao suddenly moved his feet, activating the cosmic body. A ferocious sword intent bloomed from both swords. But this time he didn't use any powerful skills. Instead, he used the descent of Fiend God. He aimed at Bloodthirsty Devil General's shoulder. Did he guess that my shoulders are my weakness? The bloodthirsty demon general was very surprised. The red zombie body he cultivated had only 3 weak points on his body. Those who didn't understand him wouldn't be able to find him. But this Ling Xiao had actually found it with his first attack. Impossible, it must be an accident. He stretched out his hands to block Ling Xiao's attack. However, in the next moment, Ling Xiao's sword move suddenly changed. Because the moves were simple, it was easier to change them. This sword was aimed at a point on the bloodthirsty demon general's back. Another weakness. Another weakness. This is definitely not a coincidence. This kid can really see the weakness of my red zombie body. Damn it, why did I meet such a freak? Boom! The bloodthirsty demon general hurriedly turned around to block. Because he was in a hurry, he suffered a loss. His body was pushed back again. Brat Scram, just throw down the corpses in your storage ring. I can spare your life, the bloodthirsty demon general suddenly said. He realized that it was extremely difficult for him to kill Ling Xiao. If he continued fighting like this and attracted the attention of others, he would be in even more trouble. Therefore, he chose to back down. Hee, even if it's an agreement, I should be the one to make the decision, not you. The one who should scram is you, right? But before you scram, you better leave behind your storage ring. I can spare your life. Ling Xiao sneered. Presumptuous. Brat, you really don't know how high the sky is. Do you really think I can't do anything to you? I just don't want to waste too much energy on you. The bloodthirsty demon general was furious. Terrifying true energy began to gather on both of his hands. His blood-red hair was actually standing on end. A horrifying smell of blood filled the air. 4th grade Emperor Realm martial skill. Are you crazy? Using a 4th grade Emperor Realm martial skill with a 2nd grade divine core cultivation base is no different from courting death. Ling Xiao furrowed his brows. This bloodthirsty demon general was really going to risk his life. He didn't care about his own life and used such a horrifying martial skill. If you're scared, leave your corpse behind and scram. To be honest, I don't want to risk my life with you, because I won't get any benefits. But you're the one who forced me to do this. This fifth skill is a low-grade 4th grade Emperor Realm martial skill. If you still don't want to give in, I still know some mid-grade and high-grade Emperor Realm martial skills. Do you want to try them all? The bloodthirsty demon general was using a powerful martial skill to threaten Ling Xiao. He wanted to force Ling Xiao to leave. If it was someone else, he would probably agree to it. But he was Ling Xiao. How could Ling Xiao give in so easily? All right, since you're not afraid of death, I'll play with you. I'd like to see how powerful you are. Ling Xiao sneered. He unleashed his martial soul of tyrant. The entire underground world turned into a pitch-black universe. At this moment, the bloodthirsty demon general felt a terrifying pressure that he had never felt before. What? The bloodthirsty demon general looked at Ling Xiao in horror. What kind of terrifying power was contained in this young man's body? Why was it increasing again and again? Sky Tyrant, 9 Supreme Sword Art, 10 swords in 1. Kill. While the bloodthirsty demon general was lost in his thoughts, Ling Xiao had already launched his attack. The bloodthirsty demon general didn't dare to waste time thinking. Instead, he blasted out the low-grade 4th grade Emperor Realm martial skill that he had already condensed. Another earth-shattering roar sounded. The bloodthirsty demon general was undoubtedly sent flying. His body directly hit the sculpture and bounced back. He landed on the ground with a horrified expression. Stop! I don't want to fight anymore. The bloodthirsty demon general hurriedly shouted. I admit that I can't kill you easily. But if I release my inner core, I can also perish with you. I don't want your corpse. You can leave. Haha. You're not qualified to negotiate with me. To be honest, your advantage is that you've learned more powerful martial skills before. But, unfortunately, you're not strong enough to fully display the power of those martial skills. As for me, this is still not my ultimate skill. If you want to die, I can continue playing with you. Ling Xiao sneered. If you want me to let you go, At least show me some sincerity. You want me to let you go with just a few words? Don't you think you're being too optimistic? The bloodthirsty demon general's expression was extremely ugly. Just like what Ling Xiao had said, Jiang Qin had forced him into a corner. He didn't want to perish together with Jiang Qin. After all, if he recovered his full strength, he would be a sixth divine core warrior. It wasn't worth it for him to perish together with this young man. What do you want? The bloodthirsty demon general furrowed his brows and asked, As for the conditions, I've already told you. Hand over your storage ring, and I'll let you go. Ling Xiao didn't want to perish together with this guy either. After all, this guy was an old monster, who knew if he had any trump cards. Chapter 3708. Since Jiang Qin knew that Bloodthirsty's bottom line was to survive, this matter would be much easier. Ling Xiao smiled and said, I don't want anything else. Just give me your storage ring and everything inside. Although he had the Tai Chi eye, he couldn't see what was inside the storage ring. But he could see the special glow emitting from the storage ring. The brighter the glow, the more treasures it contained. Jiang Chen believed that all of General Bloodthirsty's treasures should be inside the storage ring. I can't give you the storage ring. General Bloodthirsty shook his head and said, Although it is a storage ring, it's also an important item to the mansion of the prefecture. But at the same time, it's an important token of the Zifu army. Without it, I won't be able to get the things I put in the Zifu army's treasury. Even if you do get it, it'll just be a hot potato. Not only will it be useless to you, it will also bring you death. How about this? I can give you everything in the storage ring. What do you think? General Bloodthirsty tried his best to hold back the anger in his heart as he spoke. Damn it! How could he be forced to such an extent by a peak-first divine core brat? What a disgrace! Luckily, there was no one else around. Once he recovered his strength, he would kill this brat. Now, as long as he didn't die, he would cooperate as much as he could. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, It's none of your business whether I'll bring you death or not. But if you don't hand over the storage ring, don't even think about leaving here alive today. He was confident that General Bloodthirsty wouldn't die together with him. As long as there was a chance of survival, General Bloodthirsty wouldn't choose to die. You, don't go too far. General Bloodthirsty furiously said, I'm going too far, so what? Ling Xiao sneered and said, I'm still willing to let you live, but if it were you, you would have killed me without saying anything. All right, enough with the nonsense. Either you hand over the storage ring, or I'll take it myself after I kill you. Worst comes to worst, I'll just get injured. I can guarantee you that you won't be able to kill me. General Bloodthirsty's face alternated between red and white. In the end, he nodded his head helplessly. He tossed the storage ring to Ling Xiao. When Ling Xiao touched the storage ring, he immediately knew it was an extraordinary item. This thing was much better than the storage ring on his hand. Not only was the space larger, but it could also store a small number of living creatures. Moreover, the quality was even better, and it was not easily damaged. With a smile, he sealed the bloodthirsty demon general's consciousness in the storage ring. Of course, there was a reason why it was sealed and not erased. He was very interested in the secret vault that bloodthirsty demon general had just mentioned. It could only be used by martial artists at the general level. He would definitely take a look at it in the future. If he needed to use the bloodthirsty demon general's consciousness, it would come in handy. Kid, with your aptitude, why don't you come with me? Although I am extremely weak right now, once I recover, I will be a sixth divine core warrior. You won't lose out if you follow me. The bloodthirsty demon general did not leave immediately. It seemed that it was still unwilling to give up, and it began to bewitch Ling Xiao. Don't you want to leave? Ling Xiao's eyes flickered coldly. Whoosh! The bloodthirsty demon general turned into a streak of bloody light and fled. Brat, I'll remember you. Once I recover my cultivation, I'll come back and find you again. At that time, it'll be useless even if you kneel down and beg for mercy. Idiot! You're at most a 6th divine core warrior, and I don't know how long it will take you to recover. At that time, I'll be much stronger than you." Ling Xiao was confident enough to let the bloodthirsty demon general go. He knew what the consequences would be. Time to leave. After the bloodthirsty demon general left, Ling Xiao didn't leave immediately. Instead, he turned to the statue of the Blood Sword Supreme. A smile emerged on his face. Without hesitation, he placed it into his new storage ring. Because the statue of the Blood Sword Supreme had been sacrificed for a long time, it contained a powerful energy. Although it was evil, it would be a waste not to use it. It could definitely replenish Ling Xiao's depleted potential. Moreover, this sculpture already had some of the Blood Sword Supreme's divine might. He believed that if the inheritance of the Blood Sword Supreme really existed, if the Blood Sword Supreme really believed that the statue had some sort of reaction. After keeping the statue, Jiang Chen left the Devil Cave. He went straight to the mission tower. There was no need for the exploration team to go there. He had investigated the source of the infectious disease. Since the bloodthirsty demon general had left, he believed the infectious disease wouldn't spread any further. The Purple Mansion Army had their own army doctor and alchemist. Jiang Chen would leave the rest to them. Along the way, Ling Xiao started checking the treasures in his storage ring. 1,000,000 upper rank soul stones. With these upper rank soul stones and the money he earned from the martial Dao competition, Ling Xiao now had 6,000,000 upper rank soul stones. The blood thunder god could now rest at ease. There was also a bottle of pills with about 20 pills. They were called profound nether pills. This profound nether pill was concocted with profound nether grass and profound nether divine water as the main ingredients. Of course, the most important thing was that it required the blood essence of divine core warriors. Countless divine core warriors had sacrificed their lives to concoct these 20 profound nether pills. Each pill was extremely precious. Besides, Ling Xiao couldn't concoct them himself. Firstly, the profound nether grass was hard to find, and secondly, the profound nether divine water was hard to find. Of course, the most troublesome thing was the blood essence of divine core warriors. Although he wasn't a kind man, the fact that he could concoct pills with human blood was terrifying. Of course, the profound nether pill had great effects as well. It combined the effects of the healing pill, energy restoration pill, and divine restoration pill. One of the first 2 pills was used to heal wounds. The other was used to restore true yuan. As for the divine restoration pill, it could be used to increase a divine core warrior's cultivation and body strength. The profound nether pill had all 3 effects, and they were the best of the best. Good stuff. Aside from the profound nether pill, there was also a hand-drawn map. Ling Xiao could tell that it was a map of the violet spirit underworld. Most importantly, there was a place marked on the map, and it had the words Blood Sword Supreme written on it. Ling Xiao immediately became excited. If he wasn't mistaken, this should be the place where the Blood Sword Supreme disappeared. Only the bloodthirsty demon general who had been following the Blood Sword Supreme knew where it was. Good stuff. Unfortunately, there weren't any martial skills in this storage ring. It looked like the bloodthirsty demon general had left all his martial skills in that secret vault. The things in this storage ring were just a small part of it. Brother Ling Xiao. Suddenly, Zilong's voice sounded out from the beast ring, pulling Ling Xiao back from his thoughts. He quickly let Zilong out. With a smile on his face, he asked, "Are you all right now?" "I'm fine now. But where's that monster?" Zilong asked. "It ran away," Ling Xiao said. Zilong was startled for a second, but he didn't ask any questions. If Ling Xiao said that the fellow had run away, then that fellow had definitely run away. There was no way he could lie about this. As for why it ran away and how it ran away, it didn't matter. He was too lazy to think about those things. Both men continued their journey, and in just half a day, they arrived at the mission tower. Chapter 3709. 3 frightening auras could be sensed from the mission tower. Ling Xiao raised his head and looked at the 3 men who were descending from the sky. He knew one of them. Niafeng, Nie Shuang's brother. Damn it, Brother Ling Xiao, why is Niafeng here? I think he's going to take revenge on us. He's a peak 3rd divine core warrior. Both of us are no match for him. Zilong said worriedly, Don't worry, let's take it one step at a time. If we can defeat him, we'll fight him. If we can't, we'll just run. Speaking of running, he's no match for me. Ling Xiao wasn't worried at all. With so many people here, even if Niafeng wanted to kill him, he wouldn't be able to escape. Even if Niafeng wanted to kill him, he would have to think twice. While they were talking, the 3 men landed on the ground. All 3 of them were at the peak 3rd divine core realm, the perfect bronze core realm. All 3 of them were major generals, top major generals. I heard the purple spirit underworld is guarded by 7 major generals from the Purple Mansion Army. Just because of you, 3 of them have come out. Big Brother Ling Xiao, you really have a lot of face. Zilong nudged Ling Xiao and said. Ling Xiao smiled, then he cupped his fist toward the 3 men and said, Greetings, generals! He still had to show some courtesy. Master. Right at this moment, 2 people arrived by Niafeng's side and greeted him respectfully. These 2 men weren't old, but their cultivation bases weren't weak. One of them was an early Iron Core warrior, about 30 years old. The other one was an early Bronze Core warrior, about 35 years old. Both of them are Niafeng's disciples. The Iron Core warrior is Yuan Chong, and the Bronze Core warrior is called Feng Tian. Especially Yuan Chong, he has a very close relationship with Nie Shuang. Although many people think Nie Shuang is Yu Qilong's woman, Yuan Chong still loves her. But Yuan Chong likes Nie Shuang very much. Zilong knew much more than Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao looked at the 2 men indifferently, but he didn't say anything. Right at this moment, Niafeng said with a cold voice, Ling Xiao, there were 4 men who went on this mission with you. Now only Zilong is left. Where are the other 3? Clearly, Niafeng was trying to pick a fight with Ling Xiao. However, there was nothing wrong with his question. Firstly, Ling Xiao was the one who opened the bloodthirsty demon cave. Second, Ling Xiao was the one who defeated the bloodthirsty demon general. Third, Ling Xiao was the only one who knew the details of the entire process. If he didn't ask him, who else would he ask? One had to know that when Ling Xiao fought with the bloodthirsty demon general, Zilong was unconscious. Zhang Lin, Yen Chuang, and He Yu were killed by the bloodthirsty demon general because they were poisoned by corpse poison. These are the corpses. Why don't you examine them yourselves? Ling Xiao took out the 3 corpses. Of course, they were all processed. The bloodthirsty demon general is so powerful. How could he let you go? Tell me the truth. Have you sided with him? Nia Feng asked again. Ling Xiao said coolly, General Nia, don't casually accuse people wrongly. Everyone knows that the bloodthirsty demon general was seriously injured several thousand years ago. When he fought with his subordinates, his old injuries flared up and he had no choice but to escape. Bullshit. You're the only divine vein realm martial artist among the 5, but those 3 died. Not only did you resist the corpse poison, you even survived until the end? How do you explain this? Yuan Chong, who was standing beside Niafeng, said angrily, Perhaps it was because of Nie Shuang, but Yuan Chong didn't have a good impression of Ling Xiao. That's right. You have to give an explanation. Niafeng and the other 2 major generals released a terrifying aura at the same time, forcing Ling Xiao to not dare to lie. Facing this powerful pressure, Ling Xiao only smiled indifferently and looked at Yuan Chong coldly. First, you don't have the right to tell me what to do. You're a coward. You didn't even dare to accept this mission. Now that I've completed the mission, you're jealous. You actually want to slander me because you're jealous. Second, you said that I'm the weakest among the 5. I think you're blind. Among the 5, I'm the strongest. If the first half of the sentence made Yuan Chang's face unsightly and even a little ashamed, then the second half of the sentence was a joke in Yuan Chang's eyes. The surrounding Zifu army soldiers also roared with laughter. Ling Xiao's expression was very indifferent. He was only at the divine vein realm, so of course he wasn't the strongest. But now he was at the peak of the core formation realm. With his current strength, early Iron Core realm martial artists were no match for him. Therefore, he was the strongest among the five. Because he was the strongest, all the doubts that seemed unreasonable became reasonable. He could resist the corpse poison, survive until the end, and even save Zilong. Being able to repel the bloodthirsty demon general became reasonable. This answer was funny, but it blocked many difficult questions that Nie Fong and Yuan Chong had racked their brains to think of. Because other than this answer, no matter how he explained or answered, the other party could find a flaw. Even if they couldn't find a flaw, they could create a flaw. Only the strongest answer made him flawless. Instead, he could take the initiative in his own hands. Is it very funny? Ling Xiao asked with an indifferent tone. Of course it's funny. I've never heard of a divine vein warrior daring to call himself the strongest in front of a group of divine core warriors. Of course, you've defeated a first-level divine core warrior before. Let's assume you're stronger than Heiyu. But Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang are both second-level divine core warriors. Iron core warriors. Do you really think you're stronger than them? What a shameless boast. Yuan Chong sneered. Lord Major, may I ask what your cultivation level is? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. Me. I'm an early second-level divine core warrior. Iron core warrior. Yuan Chong said proudly. How do you compare to Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang? Ling Xiao asked again. Bullshit. Those two trash. How can they compare with me? Yuan Chong said with disdain. If that's the case, if I defeat the Lord Major, does that mean my words are true? Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. What? Hearing this, the crowd's laughter suddenly stopped. Since Ling Xiao dared to say something like this, it meant he wasn't talking nonsense. He must have something to rely on. If not, how could this be possible? All right, life or death, what do you think? Yuan Chong had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. Since Ling Xiao had brought it up himself, how could he not seize the opportunity? Of course. But what do the three major generals think? If I defeat Lord Major Yuan Chong, I'll be given a free pass. Then, I'll be able to claim my reward? Ling Xiao asked with a smile on his face. No problem. Nie Fong exchanged glances with the other two. Then he nodded his head and said, Forget about defeating him. As long as you can survive 20 rounds of attacks from Yuan Chong, I'll give you your reward. Then you win. Nie Fong believed in Yuan Chong's strength. Besides, he had no idea that Ling Xiao had achieved another huge breakthrough in his cultivation in such a short period of time. Therefore, he was sure that Yuan Chong would definitely win. Thank you. Lord Major Yuan Chong, this way please. Ling Xiao walked to an empty field. After that, he cupped his fist toward Yuan Chong and said, This Yuan Chong was indeed strong, much stronger than Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang, but he was still weaker than Zilong. According to his cultivation, he should be able to become a major general. But there was a limit to the number of major generals. Also, he didn't have enough military merits. That's why he wasn't promoted. But he was one of the top captains. Chapter 3710. Let's begin, Major Yuan Chong. Ling Xiao waved his hand at Yuan Chong with a carefree expression. It was as if his opponent wasn't an early Iron Core major. It was as if his opponent was just a divine vein warrior. Amongst the crowd, Gao Hong was looking at Ling Xiao with a worried expression. The king had ordered him to protect Zilong and Ling Xiao. But this young master Ling Xiao was always creating danger. It made him smile bitterly. Previously, when Jiang Chen went missing in the profound Abyss Valley, he was already scared out of his wits. Now he was going to have a life and death battle with Yuan Chong. Wasn't he being too careless with his own life? But even if Gao Hong wanted to stop him, it was useless. The battle had begun, and it was hosted by 3 major generals of the Purple Palace Army. Even Gao Hong could only deal with one of them. Young man, first round! Before Yuan Chong could finish his words, his attack had already begun. He was holding a strange-looking scimitar in his hand, and it was emitting a strong killing intent. It unleashed a chilling light. The scimitar slashed toward Ling Zhao's throat. What Yuan Chong wanted was Ling Zhao's life. Therefore, when he attacked, he didn't hold back. There was no way he would show any mercy. Zi Long didn't know about Ling Zhao's breakthrough, and that was why he was worried. Right now, he was already circulating his true yuan, preparing to help. Even if he lost, he couldn't let Ling Zhao die. Before the scimitar arrived, the chilling coldness had already arrived. Ling Zhao could clearly feel the coldness on his throat. All the Purple Palace Army soldiers who were watching the battle felt their hearts tremble, and they could feel the chilling coldness on their bodies. Humph, that boastful Ling Zhao. Yuan Chong's attack is a second-order Emperor martial skill, the Frozen Moon Slash. Just this attack alone is not something a first-order divine core warrior can defend against, let alone him. Nia Feng looked at Ling Zhao with disdain, as if he could already see Ling Zhao's head being chopped off by this attack. No one below the first-order divine core realm could defend against this attack. How could Ling Zhao be an exception? Cosmic body. Ling Zhao instantly entered the everlasting heavenly rat beast soul transformation state, released the yin-yang universal tiger beast soul, and then used the body of cosmic light. His body was wrapped in a ball of light, and he dodged Yuan Chong's attack at a speed that could not be seen by the naked eye. Seeing this scene, the 3 major generals of the Purple Mansion Army were all shocked. Ling Zhao's speed was simply too fast. Yuan Chong's attack speed simply couldn't keep up. Boom! The terrifying attack hit the spot where Ling Zhao had been standing. A cloud of dust rose from the ground. There was even a small hole in the ground. The laws of the 4 great domains were so stable, yet they were still blasted into a small crater. From this, it could be seen how powerful the opponent's attack was. This speed is too fast. How do we fight? The nearby Zifu soldiers who were watching the show all cried out in alarm. Even if Yuan Chong was much stronger than Ling Zhao, with his speed advantage, Ling Zhao could dodge any of Yuan Chong's attacks. Whoosh! Boom! Boom! Yuan Chong was naturally unconvinced. He urged his true essence and blasted out 9 more moves in a row. The speed of each move was much faster than the previous one. When he reached the 9th move, he could already touch Ling Zhao's clothes. However, this was Yuan Chong's fastest attack speed. After 10 moves, he still did not manage to hurt Ling Zhao at all. All he could do was cut off a small piece of his clothes. How could this be? Yuan Chong's expression became one of extreme shock. He had studied this Ling Zhao before. Although Ling Zhao had defeated Nieshuang in the martial Dao competition, he had only defeated Nieshuang. At that time, he was only a half-step divine core warrior. Yuan Chong didn't take it seriously. But today, this young man was able to dodge his attack so easily. Why was this happening? Don't panic. I think your strength isn't limited to this. Nia Feng reminded Yuan Chong. Yuan Chong calmed down and nodded his head. After that, he turned to Ling Zhao and said, "Young man, I've been holding back for the past 10 moves. After all, I've only used less than 80% of my strength. Next, I'll use all my strength. You're dead meat." "Same to you, I'm just playing around," Ling Zhao said with a faint smile on his face. "You're bluffing." Yuan Chong was furious. His body swayed as he unleashed a second-order Emperor Realm movement skill. In that instant, it was as if it had turned into a brilliant ray of moonlight. In the blink of an eye, it had already approached Ling Zhao. The scimitar in his hand could barely be seen. All that was left was a faint shadow. So terrifying. Even a cultivator at the same cultivation level as him won't be able to dodge this attack. Not even Ling Xiao can dodge it, a voice sounded out from the crowd. However, in the next second he was slapped in the face. Blood-red lightning suddenly appeared on Ling Xiao's body. After that, it was as if he had turned into a combination of light and lightning. In an instant, he disappeared from where he stood. Once again, even though Yuan Chong had used 90% of his strength, he couldn't even touch Ling Xiao's clothes. "I've told you, with your speed, you won't be able to touch me," Ling Xiao said with a mocking tone. "Damn it, I don't believe it." Yuan Chong exerted 100% of his strength, released his martial soul, and charged forward. His martial soul was a swallow. It didn't help much in terms of attack, but it greatly increased his speed. Even so, another 6 moves passed. He still could only touch the corner of Ling Xiao's clothes. He couldn't hurt Ling Xiao at all. On the contrary, Ling Xiao seemed to be taking a leisurely stroll. He didn't take Yuan Chong's attack seriously at all. What exactly is that blood-red lightning? It can actually increase his speed again. It said that Ling Xiao went to the Ghost Demon Palace. He got that blood-red lightning from there. I'm so envious. When everyone saw this, they felt a little embarrassed. Previously, they mocked Ling Xiao for daring to challenge Captain Yuan Chong. They thought that Ling Xiao would definitely die in 1 or 2 moves. However, it had already been 16 moves, a battle of 16 people. Ling Xiao was still unscathed, although he had been dodging and didn't fight Yuan Chong head-on. However, the rules clearly stated that as long as he didn't die, he would win. Ling Xiao naturally chose the most labor-saving method. "Ling Xiao, this general admits that your movement technique is brilliant. Your speed is extremely fast, but if you want to scare that bloodthirsty demon general away, I'm afraid you have to attack, right? And as far as I know, the space in that demon cave is narrow, so it's impossible for you to fully display your speed." Nia Feng suddenly said. This guy clearly saw that Ling Xiao was about to win, so he was deliberately looking for trouble. According to the original agreement, as long as Ling Xiao could survive 20 rounds of battle, then it would be considered a win. But now, Nia Feng clearly wanted Ling Xiao to fight Yuan Chong head-on. In fact, Ling Xiao didn't care. There were only 3 moves left, and he had already saved a lot of energy. "Wait a minute." Ling Xiao signaled for the battle to stop. Then he looked at Nia Feng and said, "Major General, my attacks are quite powerful, and sometimes I can't tell who's stronger. What if I kill Captain Yuan Chong? This is a bloody battlefield. If you kill him, then kill him, Wu Zue." Chapter 37:11. Nia Feng's words were actually directed at Gao Hong, who was hiding in the dark. With the Purple Mansion Army's intelligence network, they naturally knew that Gao Hong had been hiding in the dark to protect Ling Xiao and Zilong, of course. Ling Xiao nodded his head. Then he turned to Yuan Chong and said, "I wanted to spare your life, but Major General Nia Feng wants you dead. Don't blame me for this." Shameless boasting. How could Yuan Chong be afraid of Ling Xiao's words? In his mind, the only thing he couldn't compare with Ling Xiao was his speed. Without his speed, Ling Xiao was no match for him. Hee. Ling Xiao smiled. Then he circulated his true yuan. 8 immortal grade emperor weapon swords soared into the sky. They hovered around his body. 7 swords combined into one, and its power was equivalent to a second-order emperor level martial skill. It was only slightly weaker than his opponent's martial skill. 7 swords combined into one. Cold moon slash. 2 forces collided in the air, then they separated. This was the first head-on clash between the 2 of them. It wasn't a one-sided fight like everyone expected. Instead, both of them were pushed back at the same time. Although Ling Xiao was pushed back a little, the difference wasn't much. This scene caused everyone to be shocked. "Brother Ling Xiao, did you just break through? How come I didn't know?" Only now did Zilong realize that Ling Xiao had broken through. "You're not a divine vein warrior. You're a peak core formation warrior. Yuan Chong, who was fighting with Ling Xiao, was the one who felt it the most. Congratulations, you're right. Too bad there's no reward, Ling Xiao said with a chuckle. That's impossible. You were only a half-step divine core warrior when you entered the bloody battlefield. It's only been 5 days, but you've already broken through to the peak core formation realm. You've skipped the early, mid, and late core formation realms. This is simply inconceivable. Nya Feng was shocked as well, and he started worrying for Yuan Chong. But as a major general, he had already said it, and it was impossible for him to take it back now. I'm sorry, I just came across a fortuitous encounter. Who asked you to refuse to carry out this mission? Ling Xiao smiled as the aura of a peak core formation stage fully erupted. This made everyone extremely nervous. It was the 18th round. There were only 2 rounds left before the battle was about to end. So what if you've reached the peak of the core formation stage? Do you think you're no match for me in Iron Core stage? Kill. Yuan Chong coldly snorted and urged his true essence to attack Ling Xiao again. Unfortunately, his strongest martial skill was only a mid-second order Emperor level martial skill. There were no more powerful martial skills. After all, he was only a captain. It was probably because of Nya Feng that he was able to cultivate this mid-second order Emperor class martial skill. How many times do you want to use the same move? How boring. 8 swords in one. The 8 swords combined into one was a high-grade second-order Emperor ranked martial skill. Its power was much stronger than his opponent's Cold Moon Slash. At the moment when the 9 sword lights were condensed, the space seemed to be torn apart. Sword scars appeared on the ground. A gust of cold wind blew at the scene. The wind was like a blade, cutting everyone's body, causing them to feel a stinging pain. Boom! Once again, the 2 collided head-on. Previously, Ling Xiao was at a disadvantage, but the disadvantage wasn't obvious. This time, the high-grade second-order Emperor ranked martial skill not only made up for his disadvantage. Instead, it pushed Yuan Chong back dozens of steps. In an instant, the advantage was reversed. Ling Xiao began to suppress Yuan Chong. But Yuan Chong is worthy of being called an early Iron Core stage expert. Attacking him with a high-grade second-order Emperor ranked martial skill only made him spit out a mouthful of blood. He wasn't seriously injured. Looking at Yuan Chong, Ling Xiao couldn't help but admire him. This guy was much stronger than he had imagined. Seeing that Yuan Chong was at a disadvantage, the 3 major generals of the Purple Mansion Army and the other Purple Mansion Army soldiers looked at each other. One was a peak core formation stage, and the other was an early Iron Core stage. The difference in strength between the 2 should be more than 10 times. Why did it seem like the 2 of them were evenly matched? And Ling Xiao even had the advantage? What kind of martial skill is that? Why do I feel like it's as powerful as a high-grade second-order Emperor ranked martial skill? Nya Feng frowned. I've never seen it before, but its power is indeed as powerful as a high-grade second-order Emperor ranked martial skill. I'm afraid junior brother Yuan Chong is in trouble. Feng Tian also frowned. He thought it would be an easy fight. Who knew that the situation would turn out like this? It was too embarrassing. The 19th round began, and there was only 1 round left. Yuan Chong, don't hide it anymore. Nya Feng suddenly shouted. Yuan Chong gritted his teeth. He took out a talisman. He was really ashamed. As an early Iron Core stage expert, he had to deal with a peak core formation stage expert. He even had to use a talisman. Even if he killed Ling Xiao, he would still be in trouble. If word got out, his reputation would be ruined. But now he didn't care about his reputation. After all, his life was more important. Shameless! Zi Long scolded loudly. Yuan Chong, you have no shame! Nya Feng, today I've seen how shameless you can be. Gao Hong couldn't help but walk out from the crowd. Seeing him, Zi Long was stunned. Ling Xiao didn't have much of a reaction. Gao Hong probably felt that under this talisman, he wasn't Yuan Chong's match. He might even die. That was why he stood out. Gao Hong, don't slander me. That bloodthirsty demon general might be weak, but he was still a general. How could he not have a talisman on him? Yuan Chong only used the talisman to reconstruct the situation. Nia Feng sneered. Commander Gao let him use it. It's meaningless anyway. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Don't forget, Nia Feng's daughter also used a talisman. In the end, didn't she die in my hands? Talisman? It's just a talisman that hastens her death. Gao Hong was stunned. He smiled bitterly and closed his mouth. He knew that this young master Ling Xiao's personality was even more stubborn than Zilong's. Oh, right, Commander Gao. If anything happens later, remember to take Zilong away. Don't worry about me. Ling Xiao specifically reminded him. He didn't think that Nia Feng would keep his promise. He killed Nia Feng's daughter. Nia Feng would think of all ways to kill him. Even if he didn't do it in this mission tower, he would definitely do it somewhere else. Yuan Chong used a talisman. Then he said coldly, this talisman is called an upgrade talisman. It can upgrade my martial skills by a few levels in a short time. Now, my mid-second order Emperor class martial skill has reached low third order Emperor class. You don't have any advantage in martial skills. Is that so? That's just what you think. Ling Xiao was still calm and composed. Was a low third order Emperor class martial skill very awesome? It might be so for others, but it wasn't for him. Kid, it seems that you're very confident. Then take a look at my strongest attack. Bloodthirsty cold moon slash. The ice-cold light suddenly turned blood red. Chapter 37:12. Yuan Chong wasn't bragging. His attack had indeed reached the power of a third-order Emperor level martial skill. It seems that we don't need to wait until the 20th round. The battle should be over in the 19th round. One of the major generals of the Zifu army shook his head and laughed. It's a third-level Emperor level martial skill. Only major general level martial artists are qualified to practice it. It's already amazing that Ling Xiao has a second-level Emperor martial skill. But this time, I'm afraid he won't have a chance. Another major general said with a smile. They were all optimistic about Yuan Chong. But Ling Xiao didn't care at all. He had always been underestimated and never thought highly of. But every time, he could make those who looked down on him suffer. Is it useful to use a third-level martial Emperor realm skill that was forcefully upgraded by using a talisman? Ling Xiao's lips curled into a sneer. Since you said there's no need for the last round, then it's just right. Let's end the battle with this attack. With a sneer, Ling Xiao's figure gradually blurred and then turned into a blood shadow. His whole body seemed to be made of blood light. It was no longer a body of flesh. Blood shadow sword art, blood shadow kill. In the next moment, Ling Xiao's speed skyrocketed. It was faster than ever before. A blood shadow flashed. Yuan Chong didn't even have time to use his move. There was already a blood mark on his throat. His skill shocked everyone. Ling Xiao withdrew his sword. Then he stood proudly behind Yuan Chong. Yuan Chong's apple moved. A stream of blood suddenly spurted out. His whole body fell forward. In an instant, there was no sign of life. At that moment, everyone was stunned. Nia Feng didn't expect that the final result would be like this. He tried to let his disciple Yuan Chong kill Ling Xiao. However, the one who died in the end was Yuan Chong himself. Because he was too shocked, he didn't think of revenge for a while. This blood shadow sword art doesn't seem to be a second-level Emperor martial skill. Zilong was also stunned. He knew about the blood shadow sword art. It was a martial skill of the king's mansion. No one had ever cultivated to the second form. Therefore, although it was powerful, it was classified as a high-grade second-level Emperor-grade martial skill. But now, when Ling Xiao executed it, he felt that it already had the power of a third-rank Emperor-class martial skill. Moreover, because the speed of this move was extremely fast, it seemed both real and illusory. The threat it posed was obviously stronger than any third-order Emperor-class martial skill. Big Brother Ling Xiao is indeed a genius. Whatever martial skill he uses, it seems to become even more powerful. Zilong was once again in awe of Ling Xiao. In fact, Ling Xiao was also a little surprised. His blood sun scripture had only been cultivated to the first level, but the first move of this blood shadow sword art could already display the power of a third-level Emperor-class martial skill. He estimated that the second, third, and fourth styles would be even stronger. Moreover, just the first half of the blood sun scripture had 3 levels. If he cultivated to the highest level, the blood shadow sword art should be even more terrifying. Looks like I made the right choice in choosing Blood Sun World and Blood Shadow Sword art. Ling Xiao had a smile on his face. He was very happy. How dare you? How dare you kill a major general of the Purple Mansion Army? Arrest him. Finally, Nya Fong seemed to have come back to his senses. He shouted sternly, but it seemed that no one listened to his order. They were all in a daze. Major General Nya Fong, you're a major general. How can you talk like a fart? Just now I warned you. If I used my full strength, I might have killed you on Chong. You said that you didn't care about life or death. Now, you want the Purple Mansion Army to capture me? The reputation of the Purple Mansion Army has been ruined by a shameless person like you, right? Ling Xiao mocked. Nya Fong, what he said is reasonable. One of the major generals said, yes, since we agreed to this battle, we should keep our promise. Another major general said. Nya Fong frowned. His face was extremely unsightly. I was impulsive. Fong Tian, take Yuan Chang's body away. Then he turned and left. He couldn't let Ling Xiao go. But in this situation, he didn't dare to do anything. No matter how shameless he was, he had to put on an act. Okay, Ling Xiao, you've proven yourself. You're indeed the strongest in the team. We won't pursue the deaths of Zhang Lin and Yan Chuang. But He Yu is from the Feather Race. The Feather Race has always done things their own way. If they want to make trouble for you, we can't do anything about it. Go and get your reward. We're leaving. The 2 major generals left with the bodies of Zhang Lin, Yan Chuang, and He Yu. Ling Xiao and Zilong went to the mission tower to get their reward. After completing this mission, they would get 100,000 upper-grade spirit stones, a divine emperor artifact, a mobilization talisman, and a defense talisman of the same quality. However, to the current Ling Xiao, these spirit stones were a little too little, but the immobilization talisman and the defense talisman were very useful. And 100,000 upper-grade spirit stones was not a small number. After getting their reward, Ling Xiao, Zilong, and Gao Hong left the mission tower. Young masters, that Nya Fong definitely won't let this matter go so easily. Just follow me and leave the bloody battlefield. After walking for a while, Gao Hong suggested, all right, let's go back first. Ling Xiao had gained a lot from this mission, but he still needed some time to get used to his divine core cultivation base. Cultivating in seclusion was a must, but the bloody battlefield was too dangerous. It was safer to return to the King Mansion. However, right after they finished speaking, they realized they were surrounded. Hey, you guys, where are you going? The 3 major generals of the Purple Mansion Army appeared at the same time. When they were in the mission tower, because there were too many irrelevant people, they didn't dare attack. But this place was far away from the mission tower, so they didn't care. Judging from the situation, they didn't just want to kill Ling Xiao and Zilong. They wanted to kill Gao Hong as well. Ling Xiao, you killed my daughter and my disciple. Of course, the most important thing is that your innate talent is too frightening. If I don't get rid of you in time, you'll become a bigger disaster in the future. Therefore, don't even think about leaving today. Nya Feng's words were very straightforward. He had just said he wanted to kill Ling Xiao. TSK, speaking of which, I really don't want to kill a genius like you. But who asked you to do something you shouldn't have done? You've also become a thorn in the general's side. Another major general with a ferocious appearance and a body full of armor said, "What I've done has nothing to do with Zilong and Commander Gao. Just ask them to leave. If anything happens, I'll take full responsibility." Ling Xiao furrowed his brows and said, "Little guy, you're really stupid. Do you think we'll come to you just because of Nie Feng's personal grudge? What a joke. That's just a side trip. For the general's plan, all three of you have to die in this bloody battlefield." The third major general was dressed like a woman, but his voice was a man's. What? When Ling Xiao heard what he said, he was shocked. Chapter 37:13. Hearing the words of the three major generals of the Purple Mansion Army, Ling Xiao connected many things that had happened before in his mind. For example, why would Yu Qilong send someone to assassinate Zilong? For example, why would Yu Qilong put down his dignity as a lieutenant general and chase after Ziqinya? The Blood Sword Supreme actually died here. He suddenly said, hearing Ling Xiao's words. The three major generals were shocked. "How do you know about the Blood Sword Supreme?" The valiant-looking major general blurted out. He regretted it after saying it out loud. He, as expected, before the bloodthirsty demon general escaped, he mentioned the Blood Sword Supreme. It seems like the 7 major generals of the Purple Mansion Army are stationed in the Purple Spirit underworld. They should be here for the inheritance of the Blood Sword Supreme. I also know why your Lieutenant General, Yu Qilong, got close to Sister Ziqinya. He should be after something in the King's Mansion. Something related to the inheritance of the Blood Sword Supreme. If I'm not wrong, it should be the Blood Sun world, right? Ling Xiao already felt that it was weird. When he killed Yuan Chong, he used the Blood Sun world. The 3 major generals' eyes instantly changed. Although the Blood Sun world was a divine Great Emperor weapon, so was the Ice Age. Even the Ice Age didn't surprise them. There was only one possibility. The Blood Sun world was related to the inheritance of the Blood Sword Supreme. Nie Feng, this kid is too smart and too cunning. It seems like the general is right. We have to kill him. If we don't, our plan won't succeed. The valiant-looking major general looked at Nie Feng and said, "Hu Meng, you finally understand. I don't want to kill Ling Xiao just for my personal grudge." Nie Feng said coldly, "I understand. Not only do I understand, but Lianhua also understands." Hu Meng looked at the androgynous major general and said, "This kid isn't easy to deal with. Plus, he has the Blood Sun world. Killing him will be a great achievement." Lianhua said with a coquettish smile, "Commander Gao, when you have the chance, run. I suspect that Yu Qilong wants to harm Sister. The King's Mansion has 2 Blood Sun world. One is a first-generation weapon, a Heavenly King weapon. This was a second-generation weapon, a Divine Great Emperor weapon. They even want a Divine Great Emperor artifact, so they naturally won't miss out on a Heavenly King artifact." Ling Xiao suddenly looked at Gao Hong and said, "Young master, you don't have to worry. The monarch is not that easy to bully." Gao Hong said calmly, "Why are you still so calm? Don't forget that the monarch still doesn't know that Yu Qilong wants to harm her. If Yu Qilong wanted to snatch it, he would have done so long ago. Since they didn't do that, there must be some other conspiracy. What do you mean by drugging, feeding poison, and so on?" Ling Xiao roared, "Oh no! Big Sister's birthday is in more than 10 days. On her birthday, Big Sister's vigilance will definitely be at its lowest." Zilong suddenly said in shock, "If Yu Qilong wants to deal with Big Sister, he will definitely choose that day." Upon hearing this, Gao Hong's expression finally changed. "Ha ha ha, it's too late for you to know now. I'm not afraid to tell you that Ling Xiao guessed correctly. Have you ever heard of such a thing as a flower goo?" When Nie Feng saw the nervous and anxious expressions on their faces, he felt great. He let out a loud laugh. "Nie Feng, I don't think it's appropriate to say this out loud." Lianhua furrowed her brows and said, "What are you afraid of? They won't be able to escape even if they grow wings." Besides, even if we don't say it out loud, the guy has already guessed it. Why don't we make them suffer more? Nia Feng revealed a ferocious expression as he sneered. Lian Hua, don't stop him. There are 3 of us here, and at least 100 first-tier Divine Core Warriors and 22nd-tier Divine Core Warriors. Do you think the 3 of them can escape? Hu Meng said. Lian Hua didn't say anything else. Ling Zhao's expression had become extremely gloomy. The Eternal Divine Pill Scripture says so. The flower goo is a very vicious creature, no matter if it's a man or a woman. Once they are poisoned, they will be at the mercy of the one who poisoned them. He explained the use of the flower goo insect. Gao Hong suddenly said, Little silver worm. Rumor has it that the little silver worm, who is from the same era as the Blood Sword Lord, was an expert in refining this flower goo. Little silver worm's soul has been trapped in the water dungeon in Rising Sun City. Don't tell me that you Qilong released him in order to get the flower goo? All right, they know enough now. We can kill them now. Nia Feng said with a grin. Things might change if he delayed. He knew this. Besides, Ling Xiao was a cunning man who knew what other tricks this guy had up his sleeves. Hu Meng, Lian Hua, both of you fight Gao Hong together. It's best if you can kill him in the shortest amount of time. I'll deal with Ling Xiao myself. As for the rest of you, surround Zi Long, don't kill him. It's best if you can capture him alive. If the general's plan fails, he'll be a good hostage. Nia Feng seemed to be the strongest amongst the 3 major generals. The people here all listened to him. If you dare touch me, my sister won't let you go. The Zi family will tear you into pieces. Zi Long roared out. We're so scared. Your sister will become our general's toy. He can play with her however he wants. If you don't listen to him, we can even kill you. Nia Feng sneered. Kill. As they spoke, Hu Meng and Lian Hua had already pounced on Gao Hong. Although Gao Hong was stronger than any one of them, he was still able to defeat them. But he couldn't defeat the 2 of them together. Young Master Ling Xiao, I'll leave young Master Zilong to you. Today, Gao Hong will be loyal to the king's mansion, facing Hu Meng and Lian Hua. In the face of certain death, Gao Hong instantly made a decision. No. Uncle Gao, no. Zilong certainly knew what Gao Hong was going to do. He roared out loud. Gao Hong, are you crazy? Nia Feng and the others were also shocked. Gao Hong's expression showed that he wanted to perish together with them. Let's go. Gao Hong didn't care what these people shouted. His inner core flew out of his mouth. Then it released a terrifying aura. The area within a radius of several miles was enveloped by it. Let's go. Ling Xiao didn't think of anything else. He directly threw the purple dragon into the beast ring. Then he activated the vertical golden light technique. He disappeared on the spot in an instant. Nia Feng could only watch him escape, but there was nothing he could do. Go after him. Don't let him escape. Gao Hong's aura enveloped Hu Meng, Lian Hua, and Nia Feng, but it couldn't envelop the others. After all, his energy was limited. But Gao Hong believed that as long as he stopped the 3 major generals, Ling Xiao would have a way to escape. Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded in the bloody battlefield. Hu Meng, Lian Hua, and Nia Feng were blasted hundreds of meters away. They fell to the ground and vomited blood. They couldn't stand up anymore. Obviously, they were seriously injured. Gao Hong, whose inner core exploded, lay on the ground, facing the sky. He was no longer breathing. Lunatic! Nia Feng spat out a mouthful of blood. He was so angry that he gritted his teeth. You died for nothing. Don't forget, there are 7 major generals here. Even if you seriously injure the 3 of us, there are still 7 major generals here. There are 4 more. Chapter 3714. The vertical golden light technique could cover a distance of 1 mile at a time. However, because Ling Zhao's cultivation had increased, he had sufficient true essence. Therefore, it could only consume 1/10 of his true essence. He could use the vertical golden light technique 10 times in a row. The only problem was that after each use, he had to pause for about a minute. He had to use it to condense true essence. Brother Ling Xiao is Uncle Gao dead. Zi Long was grieving. I won't let him die in vain. Ling Xiao looked very calm. However, there was a bone-chilling coldness in his eyes. Gao Hong had died for him. If Gao Hong hadn't created the opportunity, he might not have been able to escape. He had to repay this favor. Although he wasn't very close with Gao Hong, this person was willing to sacrifice himself for them. Just this spirit alone was enough to make him feel very touched. Brother Ling Xiao, we don't seem to be going to Purple Spirit Fallout Shelter. Zi Long noticed that they were going in the wrong direction and hurriedly asked, although his heart was filled with grief. He also knew that now wasn't the time to be sad. If they couldn't escape in time, they might die too. That's right. This direction isn't going to Purple Spirit Fallout Shelter. Ling Xiao activated the vertical golden light technique for the second time. Then he continued, I've calculated. We've only been here for 5 days. There are still 15 days until Sister Monarch's birthday. Therefore, there's still time. I'm preparing to leave from Bloody Sun Fallout Shelter. Since Yu Qilong is ready to kill us, he won't let us escape. If we go to Purple Spirit Fallout Shelter, we'll just be walking into a trap. I understand. Zi Long was really impressed by Ling Xiao. At this time, he could still consider so carefully. If it were him, he wouldn't be able to do it. Even so, Ling Xiao still felt that it wasn't safe enough. Therefore, he had to return to the monarch residence as soon as possible. The vertical golden light technique isn't fast enough. Not fast enough. I need to be faster. Faster. As his spirit realm surged with monstrous waves, the bloodline of the sun god in his body also began to surge. In the universe of Tyrant, the star that represented the vertical golden light technique suddenly burst out with an even brighter light. When everything returned to normal, Ling Xiao discovered that his vertical golden light technique had improved. Previously, they could only advance 1 li at a time, but now he could directly advance 5 kilometers in one go without any rest in between. In terms of speed, there was a slight increase. Of course, after traveling for 10 miles in a short period of time, his true essence was completely exhausted. However, he had the heart of gold. The potential in his body instantly filled up his entire body. 1 minute later, he could use the vertical golden light again. This would save a lot of time. His speed was even faster. Moreover, under the effect of Earth-crossing golden light, the enemy would not be able to track him down. It would be even more useful for escaping in the future. The enemy had obviously misjudged the direction in which Ling Xiao had fled. Coupled with the upgrade of the Earth elemental golden light technique, his fleeing speed had reached its peak. Unless it was a warrior at the 3rd divine core realm or above, it would be impossible for anyone to catch up to him. 1 day later, Ling Xiao and Zi Long arrived at the side of a wide river. This river was one of the blood rivers in the bloody battlefield. Because it was close to the Blood Sun Refuge, it was also called the Blood Sun River. However, compared to the other blood rivers, this one was extremely terrifying. Not only was there no end to the river, it was also filled with rolling waves of blood. From time to time, huge demon beasts would appear. These demon beasts were all divine core demon beasts. There's no underworld in the bloody battlefield in the Blood Sun Kingdom. That's why the demon beasts here are scattered all over the place. There are a lot of divine core demon beasts gathered in the Blood Sun River. It's extremely terrifying. Only by crossing this river can we reach the Blood Sun Refuge. Zi Long furrowed his brows and said, I've only heard about it from my sister. I've never been here before. We have to cross this river as soon as possible. We can't waste any more time here. Ling Xiao said with a frown on his face. I think they're thinking the same thing as us. Look at the dust clouds in the distance. I think it's another demon beast tide. In the bloody battlefield in the Blood Sun Kingdom, this kind of thing is very common. No one is a match for the demon beast tide. The best way is to hide in the refuge. Zi Long pointed at the dust clouds in the distance, covering the entire sky. There were many people standing next to the river, and many of them were divine core warriors. Are they waiting for a boat? Ling Xiao asked. Yes, the Blood Sun River is too terrifying. Ordinary people can't fly across it. Even if a divine core warrior can fly, he can't fly for that long. Only a huge boat made with special materials and covered with formations can cross this river. Zi Long nodded his head. We've arrived at the ferry. Stay alert. Suddenly, a strange noise sounded out from the distance. It sounded like the whistle of the puppet ship that Ling Xiao had encountered before. It must be a ferry. Someone shouted and ordered his men to get ready. There were many people standing next to the river, but the space on the boat was limited, and it was unlikely for all of them to board the boat. Right at this moment, Ling Xiao had noticed it with his Tai Chi eye. From afar, a huge boat with a metallic luster was approaching at high speed. This huge boat was nearly 300 meters long, and it was only able to float safely on the Blood Sun River because of formations and formations. It also had a very strong defense. Even a full-force strike from a divine core warrior wouldn't be able to leave a scratch on the boat. When the boat approached, some demon beasts had already started attacking. But the boat was like a ferocious beast. No matter how many demon beasts charged at it, they would all be knocked away. Even a third divine core demon beast couldn't leave a scratch on the boat. What a terrifying boat! Ling Xiao clicked his tongue. Xiaolong, I think you should just stay in the beast ring for a while. Save some space. We don't want any trouble. All right. Zilong nodded his head and said, We've come to the Blood Sun Kingdom. The Z family has an ally in the Blood Sun Kingdom, and I think the Z family is going to have a falling out with the U family. I'll contact this ally and ask them to help us. Ling Xiao knew that this battle was unavoidable. Once Yu Qilong's scheme was exposed, the Yu family would probably fly into a rage out of humiliation. As for the Z family, they wouldn't just sit there and wait for their doom. A battle between the two families was unavoidable. A martial artist stepped out from the giant ship. He called himself the captain. Ling Xiao took a look at him. A third divine core warrior, perfect bronze core warrior, a top-ranked major general. He couldn't afford to offend someone like this. But since he was just on a boat, there was no need to offend him. The captain's chief officer was also a second divine core warrior, a mid-iron core warrior. There were also a dozen sailors, and all of them were perfect core formation warriors. Only 100 people can board the boat, and each person has to pay 10,000 upper-rank soul stones. The captain said with a loud voice. Swoosh! Right after he finished speaking, a man leapt into the sky and landed on the deck. He was a third divine core warrior, an early bronze core warrior. He was weaker than the captain, but stronger than the chief officer.